Chapter 3501. However, Yun Zifeng, on the other hand, was drinking with the white-eyed wolf without a care in the world. "Boss Wolf, this wine isn't very good, is there anything better?" While drinking with gusto, he was also disdainful. The white-eyed wolf said, "This was made in the Guanyu restaurant, it's indeed not very good." "Guanyu restaurant?" Yun Zifeng was taken aback and asked, "The Guanyu restaurant near the inner city of Seven Stars City?" The white-eyed wolf nodded. "The wine there is indeed not very good." Yun Zifeng shook his head and glanced at Yun Zhongtian. He quietly took out 2 jars of wine and said, "Brother Wolf, these are 2 jars of divine wine from my personal collection. It's a gift to you." "Divine wine?" The white-eyed wolf was stunned for a moment before his eyes lit up. He grabbed one of the jars and opened it, but after opening it, he couldn't help but be stunned. Could this be considered divine wine? At most, it was a top-grade wine. "What's wrong?" Yun Zifeng looked at it suspiciously. The white-eyed wolf pursed his lips and said, "Kid, you haven't seen divine wine before, have you? Big brother Lang, you're hurting yourself. I, Yun Zifeng, am the son of the Yun family's head. Without mentioning anything else, I've tasted this wine countless times. The 2 jars in front of you right now are the best wine I've ever tasted. Although it's not divine wine, it's not far from it." Yun Zifeng was dissatisfied. "Kid, you don't know anything, but you still don't admit it." The white-eyed wolf shook his head and took out a jar of black tortoise divine wine, saying, "I'll let you see what a real divine wine is." After saying that, he opened the jar and a divine dragon rushed out. Wine-chi dragon. Yun Zifeng was dumbfounded. The rich wine aroma instantly filled the entire tea garden. Even Yun Zhongtian and Yun Zhongtian couldn't help turning their heads to look at the jar in front of the white-eyed wolf. "Kid, how is it?" The white-eyed wolf looked at Yun Zifeng and smiled proudly. Yun Zifeng leaned over and sniffed, his face immediately revealing an intoxicated expression. Looking at the wine inside, it was sparkling like nectar. "You want to drink again?" Seeing this, Yun Guanghui was about to reprimand him. He was against young people drinking because drinking would cause problems and cause them to lose focus. But Yun Zhongtian stopped him. "Ancestor, what are you doing? Aren't you also against young people drinking?" Yun Guanghui looked at Yun Zhongtian suspiciously. "It depends on who you're drinking with. If Zifeng can build a good relationship with them, then for him, he will benefit endlessly in the future." Yun Zhongtian transmitted his voice. Yun Guanghui smiled in realization. The old ancestor was indeed cunning. Yun Zhongtian retracted his gaze, no longer paying any attention to Yun Zifeng. Looking at Qin Feiyang, he said, "Now that things have come to this, there is nothing else to consider. This old man has decided to move the entire clan to the Black Tortoise world." "Great." Qin Feiyang laughed. He liked dealing with such straightforward people the most. People who dilly-dallied wouldn't be of much help even if they worked together. Yun Guanghui asked, "Then why don't you take us to the Central Plains to have a look?" "All right." Qin Feiyang nodded. Looking at the white-eyed wolf and Yun Zifeng, he shook his head and smiled. Then he put down his teacup, got up, and brought Yun Zhongtian and Yun Guanghui to descend in the sky above Zhongzhou. Zhongzhou. Although there were people from the Blood Hall living there now, even with the addition of 6,000 shadow guards, there were only a few thousand people. Therefore, Zhongzhou was still the base camp of the beasts. As for Pei Dason and the others, although they had children over the years, there were only a dozen families in total. How many children could they have? So, the people of Zhongzhou were about the same as before. Yun Zhongtian and Yun Guanghui released their divine sense to observe Zhongzhou. It was really bigger than they imagined. Our Black Tortoise world has a total of 6 places. The Devil's Land, Zhongzhou, Western Domain, Eastern Domain, Southern Domain, and northern domain. Apart from the western domain, there are living creatures in the other places, and Zhongzhou is the base camp of the beasts. Qin Feiyang introduced a little, then looked at the two seriously and said, "There is a request that this junior must explain to you first." "Speak." Both of them retracted their divine sense and looked at Qin Feiyang. "Since the Yun family is in Zhongzhou, I will not favor one and discriminate against the other. The resources that should be given will be given. However, the peace of the Black Tortoise world must not be disturbed. If anyone dares to cause trouble in the Black Tortoise world and destroy the order, especially harming the living creatures of the Black Tortoise world, then at that time, don't blame me for not showing mercy to the two seniors." Qin Feiyang said. "That's for sure. Even if you don't say it, we will still restrain our clansmen." Yun Guanghui nodded. "That's good. You don't know. Everyone in the Black Tortoise world, every beast, has a great kindness to me. It can be said that I can't repay it in my lifetime, so I can only silently protect them." Qin Feiyang said. Yun Zhongtian smiled and said, "To be able to have this kind of affection, it shows that you, Qin Feiyang, are indeed a young man who values friendship and righteousness. It's not to that extent. This junior is just repaying kindness with kindness." Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. Yun Zhongtian and Yun Guanghui looked at each other and smiled. To be able to do this was already very difficult. Because in today's world of mutual deception and selfishness, most people would repay kindness with evil. Qin Feiyang smiled and said, "All right then, there's no time to lose. Go out and gather your clansmen immediately. That's simple." Yun Zhongtian smiled but then frowned and said solemnly, "However, there's one thing this old man is worried about." "What is it?" Qin Feiyang was puzzled. "My Yun family has planted spies in the He family and similarly, the He family has planted spies in my Yun family. The key point is, these spies are hidden very well. We don't even know who they are. If we don't ferret out these spies now, when they enter the Black Tortoise world, I'm afraid it will cause a lot of trouble. Moreover, if they inform the He family of this when they are moving, the He family might make their move earlier." Yun Zhongtian said worriedly. Hearing this, Qin Feiyang couldn't help but frown. This was indeed a difficult problem. If Yun Zhongtian and the others knew about these spies, it would be fine, as they could get rid of them on the spot. But now, they didn't know anything. Who knows, someone close to them might be one of the He family's spies. Yun Guanghui pondered for a moment before nodding. "We do need to think of a safe plan. How many clansmen does your Yun family have?" Qin Feiyang asked. "That depends on how we count. If we only count the direct descendants, naturally there aren't that many, at most a few thousand. But if we count all the branches, then my Yun family has at least a few 100,000 clansmen. If we count the forces we've nurtured, it would be more than 1,000,000. Yun Guanghui said. "So many?" Qin Feiyang was stunned. Yun Guanghui smiled, "After all, we've been developing for so many years." "Scary." Qin Feiyang shook his head and smiled bitterly. As the second-ranked family, the Yun family already had such a terrifying foundation, then wouldn't the number one family, the He family, be even more shocking? Moreover, there were more than 1,000,000 people. To read their memories one by one was definitely unrealistic. Was there any way to quickly eliminate the spies? "Why don't we look for He Chenggang?" Yun Guanghui suddenly said. "Look for He Chenggang?" Qin Feiyang and Yun Zhongtian looked at him suspiciously. "That's right. As the head of the He family, He Chenggang must know about the spies hidden in our Yun family. As long as we capture him and force him to speak, we can naturally catch them all in one fell swoop." Yun Guanghui's eyes flashed coldly. When Qin Feiyang heard that, he nodded and said, "This method is feasible, but at this time, He Chenggang shouldn't dare to leave the He family. If he doesn't leave the He family, then I won't be able to deal with him because the dragon's men are hiding in the He family. If I go there, I'll be walking right into their trap. That's true. Yun Guanghui nodded. Now that the He family knew that Qin Feiyang wanted to deal with them, before the dragon's men could reconstruct their bodies, they would definitely hide in the He family. Yun Zhongtian suddenly spoke up, "No, for this matter, we can let the Yun family step forward." The Yun family step forward? Qin Feiyang was slightly taken aback, then slapped his head and nodded, "That's right, you can let the Yun family step forward because the He family still doesn't know that the Yun family has already formed an alliance with me, so they won't be too wary of you." As long as Yun Zhongtian and Yun Guanghui could lure He Chenggang out, then capturing him would be a piece of cake. Then what should we use as bait? Also, what if he asks us to go to the He family directly? We need to consider these uncertain factors in advance. Yun Guanghui said. Actually, this isn't difficult. Qin Feiyang waved his hand and looked at Yun Guanghui with a smile. Did you suggest to He Chenggang to form a contract bridge? Yes. Although the Yun family and He family are enemies, we are still from the southern continent. Sometimes, if we encounter any difficulties, both our families need to work together. Yun Guanghui nodded. Qin Feiyang said, "Then you can send a message to him now and I'll teach you what to say." All right. Yun Guanghui nodded and took out the divine sound transmission stone. Qin Feiyang and Yun Zhongtian walked to the opposite side of Yun Guanghui. This way, when He Chenggang arrived, he would only see Yun Guanghui and not Qin Feiyang and Yun Zhongtian. Yun Guanghui took a deep breath and activated the divine sound transmission stone. Time passed breath by breath. After about 10 breaths, the divine sound transmission stone finally reacted and a figure appeared. It was He Chenggang. "Old Yun, why are you still in the mood to send me a message?" He Chenggang looked at Yun Guanghui and laughed. "I'm here to advise you to restrain your grief." Yun Guanghui immediately retorted, not to be outdone. When He Chenggang heard this, his face darkened and said, "I didn't expect you to receive the news so quickly." Yun Guanghui laughed, "Your own son self-destructed in front of you. Such a big matter, it's hard for me not to know." "Shut up." He Chenggang's face turned cold. "No need to quarrel with him, just tell him your purpose." Qin Feiyang said inwardly. Yun Guanghui secretly agreed and looked at He Chenggang, saying, "I'm not here to quarrel with you. I'm sending you a message because I have something to discuss with you." "What's there to discuss between us?" He Chenggang smiled coldly. "Tell him like this." Qin Feiyang secretly sent a message to Yun Guanghui. When Yun Guanghui heard this, he looked at He Chenggang and said, "What He Tian said, Zifeng has already told me. You guys are really despicable. You don't have the ability, but you actually joined forces with others to deal with my Yun family." Chapter 3502. He Chenggang sneered. "Since you already know, I might as well tell you directly. If you want to discuss this matter, just shut up. Are you sure? Don't regret it." Yun Guanghui's eyes darkened slightly. "With that group of mysterious experts helping the He family, what do I have to regret? You'd better think of a way to escape." He Chenggang sneered. Yun Guanghui glanced at Qin Feiyang and said to He Chenggang, "All right, I'm begging you." "Begging me?" He Chenggang was stunned. "That's right. Although our two families have been fighting openly and secretly, it's undeniable that the ancestors of our two families were good brothers. Since that's the case, why do we have to fight to the death?" Yun Guanghui sighed. Yun Guanghui, it's really rare to hear such words coming out of your mouth." He Chenggang laughed. Yun Guanghui said in a low voice, "I know that you have something against me, and I'm also very unhappy with you, but you can't be so ruthless. What's the use of talking to me about this now?" He Chenggang sneered. Yun Guanghui said, "If it's useless, then let's not talk about it." I'll tell you my purpose. I want to use two things in exchange for the peace of the Yun family. What are they? He Qinggang was suspicious. The control of the sovereign divine weapon and the control of the temple. In other words, as long as you agree to let the Yun family live, we're willing to hand over the sovereign divine weapon and the other half of the control of the temple. Yun Guanghui said. He Qinggang was quite surprised when he heard this. He had never thought that Yun Guanghui would send him a message to hand over the control of these two major powers. Hasn't the He family always wanted the control of the temple and the sovereign divine weapon? Shouldn't you be happy that I'm taking the initiative to give it to you? Yun Guanghui snorted coldly. I'm quite happy. However, I don't think it's necessary. Because the Yun family will be destroyed by the He family sooner or later. Do we need you to give it to us? He Qinggang laughed, not hiding his sarcasm. That's not necessarily true. Even a rabbit will bite when it's cornered. If you really force me into a corner, I also have a way to punish your He clan. Yun Guanghui said in a deep voice. He Qinggang was stunned when he heard that. He said with a playful face, then tell me, what method do you have to punish my He family? He was naturally aware of the Yun family's situation. Other than the great ancestor of the Yun family, Yun Zhongyue, and the 4 elders who served as elders in the temple, none of them could be brought to the table. And these people were simply unable to withstand a single blow from that group of mysterious people. Do I have to say it? All right. Your He clan isn't too peaceful right now, right? Because I was targeted by Qin Feiyang. If you push me too far, I'll go find Qin Feiyang. Yun Guanghui said. How dare you? He Qinggang's face sank. If you really force me into a corner, do you think I'll dare to do it? Yun Guanghui sneered. He Qinggang clenched his fists, but suddenly laughed out loud. He nodded and said, sure, go find him. With Qin Feiyang's little strength, it's not enough to fill the gaps between the teeth of those mysterious people. When that time comes, your Yun family will have no way to survive. That's not necessarily true. I heard that the bodies of those mysterious people were destroyed by Qin Feiyang. Besides, even if Qin Feiyang isn't a match for those mysterious people, he's more than enough to deal with your He clan. After all, he has 2 Dominator divine weapons. As for your He clan, if my Yun clan doesn't hand over the control of the Dominator divine weapons, you won't be able to take them out. At that time, facing Qin Feiyang's fury, what can your He clan use to contend against him? Yun Guanghui sneered. His eyes were full of mockery. He Qinggang's face sank again. Yun Guanghui continued, can you guarantee that those mysterious people will continue to stay in your He clan? You must know Qin Feiyang's methods. As long as those mysterious people leave the He clan, it will be the end of your He clan. But if you listen to me, your He clan will have control of the sovereign divine weapons. By then, even if Qin Feiyang comes, your He clan will still be able to protect itself. And your He clan will only need to give my Yun clan a safe place to live. Isn't this a good deal? Yun Guanghui's words were logical and reasonable, causing He Qinggang's face to darken. Indeed. The dragons couldn't protect the He clan forever. Moreover, Qin Feiyang was a man of many tricks, appearing and disappearing unpredictably. If they could gain control of the sovereign divine weapons, they would have more protection. This is my greatest sincerity. Think about it carefully. Yun Guanghui said and turned off the divine voice transmission stone. He looked at Qin Feiyang and Yun Zhongtian and smiled. Now, we will wait for his reply. He will definitely agree. Qin Feiyang smiled. Why do you say so? Yun Guanghui and Yun Zhongtian looked at Qin Feiyang in surprise. He was so sure. Because you have already said so much. Can't they think about it carefully? And I think they will definitely plan to do so. First, they will pretend to agree to your request. First, they will take control of the temple and the sovereign divine weapons from your hands. Then, they will get rid of the Yun clan. Because once they have the sovereign divine weapons, they will no longer need the help of the Dragon Hall to get rid of the Yun clan. Qin Feiyang laughed. That makes sense. The two nodded and couldn't help but give Qin Feiyang a thumbs up. He really analyzed the human heart thoroughly. The He clan. What? They will voluntarily give up control of the temple and the sovereign divine weapons? In a large hall, the He clan's old ancestor looked at He Qinggang in shock. That's right. Just now, Yun Guanghui personally sent me a message saying that as long as we let the Yun clan go, he will voluntarily hand over control to us. He Qinggang nodded. What if we don't agree? The He clan's old ancestor asked. He Qinggang said, if we don't agree, then they will go find Qin Feiyang and fight us to the death. The He clan's old ancestor raised his eyebrows. This Qin Feiyang was really like a mountain, pressuring him to the point that he couldn't breathe. He lowered his voice and asked, what do you think? I think we can agree to their request first. He Qinggang nodded. First? The He clan's old ancestor was stunned. That's right. That is, we will agree to their request first. After we get control of the sovereign divine weapons, we will go and kill them. Won't that be easy? He Qinggang sneered. That makes sense. The He clan's old ancestor's eyes lit up. Then, should I send him a message now? He Qinggang asked. All right. The He clan's old ancestor nodded. He Qinggang took out the divine sound transmission stone. The black tortoise whirled. Looking at the constantly buzzing divine sound transmission stone, Yun Guanghui smiled at Qin Feiyang and said, he's here. The two of them couldn't help but smile at each other. As the divine sound transmission stone awakened, He Qinggang appeared. The He clan's old ancestor also landed beside He Qinggang and looked at Yun Guanghui, asking, does that old man Yun Zhongtian know about this? Of course this old man knows. This is what this old man means. Yun Zhongtian took a step forward and landed beside Yun Guanghui, looking at the He clan's old ancestor. The He clan's old ancestor laughed loudly. I really didn't expect that a wretched old man like you would beg my He clan for mercy one day. Humph. The deity's Templar's temple lord, the overlord of the southern continent, actually became someone else's lackey. This old man really doesn't know what you have to be so proud of. Yun Zhongtian snorted coldly, his eyes filled with disdain. Hearing that, a cold light flashed in the He clan's old ancestor's eyes and he laughed. This is called a wise man submits to circumstances. Moreover, my He clan is cooperating with those mysterious people, how can I be their lackey? Old man Yun, don't be jealous. For them to come to my He clan means that in their eyes, my He clan is the true ruler of the southern continent. Yes. I'm jealous, alright? Enough with the nonsense and give us an answer. Yun Zhongtian said. The He clan's old ancestor nodded, alright, this old man accepts your suggestion. But this old man has an additional condition. Your Yun clan must become a subsidiary of my He clan. Impossible. Yun Zhongtian shouted, his face filled with rage. Yun Guanghui's face was ugly as he said in a low voice, my Yun clan has already made such a big concession. I advise you not to push us too far. Is this bullying you? No, this old man is just taking care of you. Because once you hand over control of the deity's Templar and the sovereign divine weapon, your status in the southern continent will instantly plummet. By then, you might even be targeted by other noble families. But if you become a subsidiary of my He clan, then even if your Yun clan is destroyed, with my He clan's support, no one would dare to have any designs on you. The He clan's old ancestor chuckled, looking as if he had them in his grasp. You don't have to worry about that. My Yun clan doesn't care about the other noble families. As long as your He clan doesn't come looking for trouble with us, it's fine. If you continue to force us like this, then this old man will have no choice but to look for Qin Feiyang. Yun Zhongtian said in a low voice, his face ashen. This He family was indeed a wolf with wild ambitions. If they didn't choose to form an alliance with Qin Feiyang, then no matter what choice the Yun clan made, they would still end up in the hands of the He clan. In short, the He clan would not let them off so easily. Don't be agitated, don't be agitated. As you said, the ancestors of our two clans are good brothers. There's no need to fight like they're mortal enemies. There's also no need to let an outsider like Qin Feiyang get involved. Alright. This old man promises you that as long as you hand over control of the deity's Templar and the sovereign divine weapon, this old man will no longer target your Yun clan. The He clan's old ancestor smiled. Live our own lives and have nothing to do with each other? Yun Zhongtian asked. That's right. Live our own lives and have nothing to do with each other. The He clan's old ancestor nodded. Then swear it. Yun Zhongtian said. Alright, I swear it. The He clan's old ancestor nodded with a smile as he pointed to the skies and said in a sonorous voice, If I go against this oath, this He clan's old ancestor shall suffer the wrath of the heavens. And when Yun Zhongtian mentioned the oath, Qin Feiyang's heart stirred. Could he make use of this opportunity to make the He clan's old ancestor swear a blood oath? That way, he would be able to get rid of a formidable opponent without breaking a sweat. But thinking about it from another perspective, the blood oath would cause a strange phenomenon to descend from the heavens and it would definitely alarm the princes and princesses of the dragons. That would be as good as alerting the snake in the grass, so he decisively gave up on that idea. Chapter 3503. Swearing was equivalent to farting, and this was something that the He family's old master and He Qinggang, Yun Zhongtian and Yun Guanghui were well aware of, but not a single one of them dared to point it out. Because they all had their own ulterior motives. The He family's old master smiled and said, It's fine now, right? Speak, how do we make this deal? How else can we make this deal? Our Yun family has made such a huge concession and you want us to personally deliver it to you? Of course you have to come to our Yun family to get it. Yun Zhongtian said. We'll come to your Yun family to get it? The He family's old master was slightly taken aback before he mocked, Could this be a trap? You're rather sharp. Qin Feiyang grumbled. If you think it's a trap, then take it as if this deal has never happened. What kind of person is this? Our Yun family has already lowered ourselves, and what more do you want? Yun Zhongtian snorted coldly. Don't be angry, don't be angry. It's just a joke. The He family's old master chuckled and muttered to himself for a while before he looked at Yun Zhongtian and said, It's better if you deliver it to us personally. Only then can you prove the sincerity of your Yun family. Good idea. When we deliver it personally, you can borrow the hands of those mysterious people to force us to stay in the He family. When that happens, our Yun family will be without a leader and it will be easier for you to destroy our Yun family. Yun Zhongtian laughed coldly. Cough cough. The He family's old master coughed dryly and said helplessly, You old man, can't there be a little more trust between people? I've already made a vow and you still can't trust me? We've fought for so many years. How could this old man not know what kind of person you are? The location of the deal will definitely not be in your 7-star city and it will definitely not be in your family's lands. Yun Zhongtian's attitude was resolute. Towards this matter, there was no room for discussion. You're making things a little difficult for me. The He family's old master frowned. You don't even dare to come to Cloud Han City. Looks like you're rather afraid of our Yun family. Yun Zhongtian mocked him. Afraid? The He family's old master laughed out loud and shook his head. The current Yun family, this old man really does not know what is there to be afraid of. But one must always be wary. How about this, we each take a step back and make the deal to do it in the White Phoenix Range. White Phoenix Mountain Range. Yun Zhongtian could not help but furrow his brows. This is the greatest concession I can make. And only Yun Guanghui is allowed to come. The old ancestor of the He clan said in a deep voice. Yun Zhongtian could not help but glance at Qin Feiyang, and Qin Feiyang nodded his head. Yun Zhongtian looked at the old ancestor of the He family and nodded his head. All right, but your He family will only allow He Chenggang to come here alone. Don't say that this old man did not warn you. If you dare to play any tricks at that time, the worst that can happen is that the fish dies and the net splits. Why do we have to resort to underhanded means when it can be solved peacefully? See you at the White Phoenix Mountain Range in an hour. The old ancestor of the He clan chuckled, and the shadow quickly dissipated. Yun Zhongtian heaved a sigh of relief as well. At least he had successfully completed the first step. Qin Feiyang was silent for a moment as he looked at the two men in Yun Zhongtian and asked, "Where is the White Phoenix Mountains?" The White Phoenix Mountains is between the Seven-Star River and the Cloud Han City, and it is very close to the temple. I think the He clan is planning to go to the temple immediately after obtaining control of the sovereign divine weapon to request for the divine weapon. Yun Zhongtian gave a cold laugh, thinking that it was really wishful thinking. Qin Feiyang nodded his head in realization and asked, "The place where the sovereign divine weapon is placed can only be opened by the keys in the hands of the two of you?" "That's right." Yun Zhongtian nodded his head. "What kind of key?" Qin Feiyang asked suspiciously. Yun Zhongtian waved his hand and a jade pendant the size of a baby's fist flew out from his chi ocean. It was crescent-shaped, simple and unadorned, but it exuded an obscure aura. "This is the key." Yun Zhongtian handed the jade pendant over to Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang took the jade pendant and looked at it carefully. "There are two pieces of this jade pendant. One is in my hands and the other is in the hands of the He clan. Only when the two jade pendants are placed together will the doors of the Divine Weapon Pavilion open. The Divine Weapon Pavilion is where the sovereign divine weapon is placed." Yun Zhongtian explained. Qin Feiyang asked suspiciously, "Then how are you going to give him control of the temple?" "That's simple. Just give my deputy temple master identity token to the He clan," Yun Zhongtian said. Qin Feiyang nodded and suddenly asked, "Then this divine weapon pavilion, can a sovereign divine weapon be used to forcefully open it?" "This." Yun Zhongtian thought for a while and shook his head, "I have not tried. Because the divine weapon pavilion has been tempered by a sovereign divine weapon. Logically speaking, if there is enough time, it should be possible to forcefully open the divine weapon pavilion. So it has been tempered by a sovereign divine weapon." Qin Feiyang mumbled. Normally, only a sovereign divine weapon would be able to open something tempered by a sovereign divine weapon. To others, it was as difficult as ascending to the heavens. Because in the entire southern continent, there was only one sovereign divine weapon. But to Qin Feiyang, it was not a difficult task. To the dragons, it was even less of a difficult task because the dragons had more sovereign divine weapons. Wait a minute. If the dragons were able to open the divine weapon pavilion, then why would the He clan be so anxious to get the key in Yun Zhongtian's hands? Because as long as they could convince the dragons and get the dragons to help them, it would be a matter of minutes. In other words, there was no need for the key in Yun Zhongtian's hands. What are you thinking about? Yun Zhongtian and Yun Zhongtian looked suspiciously at Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang voiced out the doubts in his heart. About that. It's simple. The He clan must be worried that the dragons would snatch away this sovereign divine weapon. After all, with the power of the dragons, if they wanted to take this sovereign divine weapon for themselves, the He clan would not dare to not give it to them. But if it is in the hands of the He clan, then it is a different matter altogether. After all, the might of a sovereign divine weapon is enough to destroy the heavens and earth. Even the dragons would have to think twice before doing so. Taking a step back, even if the dragons had such thoughts, they would not dare to push the He clan too hard, as they would still need to make use of the He clan's connections to deal with you. Yun Zhongtian said. Qin Feiyang nodded his head. There is still one more important point. The sovereign divine weapon of our temple is a rather stubborn fellow. Yun Zhongtian smiled bitterly. Stubborn? Qin Feiyang was slightly taken aback. What did he mean by that? That's right, stubborn. It only recognizes the 2 jade pendants in our hands. Simply put, without those 2 jade pendants, even if you were to force your way into the divine weapon pavilion, it would not listen to you, and would not follow you. You possess 2 sovereign divine weapons, so you should know that such a stubborn sovereign divine weapon is a huge headache. Yun Zhongtian shook his head, his face full of helplessness. Hearing that, Qin Feiyang could not help but smile bitterly. He could really empathize with it. Because the ancient castle had such a stubborn character. Without the sovereign divine weapon, it would definitely not make a move. Qin Feiyang asked, according to what you said, if we want to gain the support of this sovereign divine weapon, we have to think of a way to get the jade pendant in the hands of the He clan's old ancestor? That's right. Yun Zhongtian nodded. It can't be flexible at all? Qin Feiyang asked. No. Whether it is me or the He clan's old ancestor, we have always called it Old Fogey. Yun Zhongtian smiled helplessly. Then it will be a little difficult. I had originally planned to go to the temple after getting rid of the spy, and help you snatch the sovereign divine weapon. In this way, our chances of winning against the dragons in the future would be much higher. Qin Feiyang sighed. It won't work. Yun Zhongtian shook his head. Qin Feiyang pondered for a moment, gritting his teeth. Whether it works or not, we'll still go and try. We'll talk to it nicely. I believe that as long as we show full sincerity, as long as what we say is right, it will support us. Up to you. If we can really gain its support, it will be a great thing for us. Yun Zhongtian nodded, but he did not hold much hope in his heart. Because they had been together for so many years, he understood this sovereign divine weapon's character all too well. Qin Feiyang smiled. Then let's make some preparations and go to the White Phoenix mountain range. It was impossible for the He clan to let Yun Guanghui go alone, because if the He clan played any tricks behind their back, not only would they lose the key, even Yun Guanghui would be in trouble. Besides, with Yun Guanghui's strength alone, it was impossible for him to take down the He Chenggang. Therefore, Qin Feiyang and Yun Zhongtian had to go personally. Yun Guanghui pondered for a moment before looking at Yun Zhongtian. Old ancestor, why don't you stay in the Black Tortoise world? If anything happens, you can come out to help. Sure. Yun Zhongtian nodded. In fact, he had the same thought. No. Both of you stay in the Black Tortoise world. Qin Feiyang waved his hand. Both of them were taken aback, hurriedly asking, if we stay in the Black Tortoise world, then who's going to make the deal with He Chenggang? Of course it's me. Qin Feiyang chuckled. You? Both of them looked at each other. With the He clan's cautious attitude, when they arrive at the White Phoenix mountain range, they will definitely spread out their divine sense to search the surroundings, so no matter how I hide, it's useless. Qin Feiyang said. Even in the Black Tortoise world, his divine sense can still find us? Yun Zhongtian asked. Although his divine sense can't find me through the Black Tortoise world, it can still capture the Black Tortoise world. When he discovers the Black Tortoise world, wouldn't that be the same as discovering us? That's why I have to make the deal with him, that's why he can't find you hiding in the Black Tortoise world. Qin Feiyang smiled. But he specifically asked me to go? Yun Guanghui asked. Isn't that simple? Qin Feiyang smiled faintly, swallowed an illusory appearance pill, and transformed into Yun Guanghui's appearance. So that's how it is. Yun Guanghui was enlightened, giving him a thumbs up, smiling, "Smart indeed, but your cultivation doesn't seem to match mine." Yun Guanghui was a perfect circle sovereign. And Qin Feiyang was just a perfect circle sovereign. That's simple. Hide your cultivation. At this time, I don't believe that he'll purposely ask about my cultivation. Qin Feiyang said. Yun Guanghui pondered for a while, then nodded with a smile, "That's fine too. After all, what they desire the most now is to obtain control of the deity's Templar and the sovereign divine weapon, so they won't care too much about these small details. Moreover, I'm a low-key person, so I often hide my cultivation in front of outsiders." Then that's it. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly, bringing the two of them to the tea garden. He looked at the white-eyed wolf and said, "Stop drinking, let's get down to business." Chapter 3504. What business do you have? The white-eyed wolf raised its head and looked at Qin Feiyang with drunken eyes. As for Yun Zifeng, he was already drunk to the point of unconsciousness, sprawled on the ground, snoring loudly. On the ground, there were dozens of wine jars. Looking at this scene, Yun Guanghui's face darkened. How could he drink so much in such a short time? He really had no restraint at all. Sure enough, it was impossible to not restrain young people these days. Qin Feiyang was also helpless. He looked at the white-eyed wolf and said, "I don't need you to do anything. Just send me to the White Phoenix Mountain Range." White Phoenix Mountain Range. The white-eyed wolf was slightly taken aback and asked suspiciously, "What the hell is that place?" Qin Feiyang looked at Yun Zhongtian and said, "Give it the coordinates and your identity token." After Yun Zhongtian gave the white-eyed wolf the coordinates, he took out a palm-sized token and handed it to Qin Feiyang. It was golden in color, as if it was made of gold. On the front was the word "Divine" and on the back were the words, "Yun Zhongtian." This token was the same as the one that Chu Yun had given to Qin Feiyang and the others. With this token, one could do whatever they wanted in the southern continent. Qin Feiyang put away the token and the key to the divine weapon pavilion. Then, he brought the white-eyed wolf to the main hall outside. The white-eyed wolf waved its paw and a space-time transmission channel immediately appeared. "You go back to the Black Tortoise world first and come out to help at any time." Qin Feiyang instructed and sent the white-eyed wolf to the Black Tortoise world. Then, he stepped into the space-time transmission channel alone. As for Old Black, he was still waiting outside, completely unaware that the group had already left the Yun family. White Phoenix Mountain Range. Mountains stacked on top of each other. At the very center, a giant peak towered into the sky, covered with white birch trees. From afar, it looked like a white phoenix about to spread its wings and soar. Qin Feiyang took a step forward and landed on the peak of the mountain, waiting silently. Time passed quietly. About half an hour passed. In the distance, a figure broke through the air and flew over. However, he did not enter the White Phoenix Mountain Range directly. He stood at the edge and scanned the mountain peak. It was He Chenggang. He acted very cautiously. Soon, he saw Qin Feiyang standing at the top of the mountain. After observing for a while, He Chenggang scanned other places again. Suddenly, his eyes flashed, and a majestic divine sense erupted like a volcano, surging forward in all directions. In just an instant, his divine sense had enveloped the entire White Phoenix Mountain Range. Qin Feiyang also immediately sensed He Chenggang's divine sense. He raised his head and looked over, a glint flashing in his eyes. How dare they launch a surprise attack? This person's cautiousness was beyond imagination. A moment passed. After confirming that there was no third person present, He Chenggang flew towards Qin Feiyang. However, he did not retract his divine perception, which continued to envelop the entire White Phoenix Mountain Range. It's impolite not to reciprocate. I also want to see if you brought anyone with you. Qin Feiyang said. His divine sense surged out and enveloped the entire White Phoenix mountain range in an instant. Don't worry, I still have this bit of integrity. He Qinggang chuckled and landed in front of Qin Feiyang. He stretched out his hand and said, "Cut the crap, hand over the token and key." Qin Feiyang waved his hand, and the token and key appeared, floating in front of him. He Qinggang's eyes suddenly revealed a trace of greed. "You have to promise that after getting the token and key, you won't attack my Yun family," Qin Feiyang said in a deep voice. Hearing this, He Qinggang raised his eyebrows and said angrily, "Didn't you already swear before? What else do you want? The so-called oath, do you think it's reliable?" Qin Feiyang said. He Qinggang's anger became more and more obvious, and he said impatiently, "Then tell me, what do you want me to do?" "I don't know, but I always feel that you're not trustworthy." Qin Feiyang shook his head. "Are you going to change your mind at the last minute?" He Qinggang frowned. Qin Feiyang remained silent. He Qinggang said in a deep voice, "Let me tell you, I'm very sincere in wanting to reconcile with your Yun family, so you'd better not push your luck. Otherwise, it won't do your Yun family any good." Qin Feiyang was silent for a while, and sighed helplessly. He waved his hand, and the token and key flew toward He Qinggang. He Qinggang was overjoyed, and he hurried forward to grab the token and key. After confirming their authenticity, he laughed and said, "Good, good, good, from today onwards, the southern continent belongs to my He family. I hope you'll keep your word." Qin Feiyang said. "Don't worry, I won't make things difficult for your Yun family," but, He Qinggang then changed the topic, and the murderous intent in his eyes was undisguised. He laughed and said, "I'll kill your entire Yun family, and I'll start with you." Boom! As soon as he finished speaking, a terrifying aura exploded, and a gloomy old man appeared next to He Qinggang. It was the old ancestor of the He family. Qin Feiyang was instantly enraged. "I'm sorry, if you want to blame someone, blame your Yun family for being too naive. Did you really think this old man would let He Qinggang come alone? Did you really think that this old man would let your Yun family go after you hand over the token and key?" The old ancestor of the He family laughed sinisterly. "Damn it! You went back on your word. Aren't you afraid of being ridiculed by the world?" Qin Feiyang shouted angrily. "Ridiculed? As long as you die here, who will know?" The old ancestor of the He family sneered coldly, and a terrifying aura rolled out, enveloping Qin Feiyang. What a wild ambition! However, it's not only your He family that's smart, my Yun family isn't stupid either. Qin Feiyang's face turned cold, and with a thought, Yun Zhongtian appeared next to him. "What?" He Qinggang and Yun Zhongtian raised their eyebrows. "This old man knew you can't be trusted." Yun Zhongtian's face was gloomy to the extreme, and his divine power erupted, like an invisible torrent, fiercely colliding with the aura of the old ancestor of the He family. With a loud bang, the White Phoenix mountain range was instantly razed to the ground, and dust billowed, covering the sky and the sun. The old ancestor of the He family's eyes flashed with a cold light, and shouted, "If you have the guts, go to the galaxy and fight, so as not to hurt innocent people. As you wish. Today, either you die or I die." Yun Zhongtian took a step forward, and headed straight for the galaxy. The old ancestor of the He family and He Qinggang looked at each other, and a sinister smile appeared in their eyes as they rushed towards the galaxy at the same time. What's going on? Qin Feiyang was a little confused. According to his previous deduction, after the two of them obtained the key, shouldn't they have rushed back to the temple to take out the sovereign divine weapon of the divine weapon pavilion? But why weren't they in a hurry at all, and still so confident in killing them? There was something wrong with this. Because it was too abnormal. However, to him, this might be an opportunity. Because before this, he was still thinking about how to gain the trust of the sovereign divine weapon and gain its support. Now, the appearance of the old ancestor of the He family had undoubtedly given him this opportunity. Because as long as he snatched the key from the old ancestor of the He family, and gathered the two keys, the sovereign divine weapon would be given to them. Man proposes, God disposes. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. Who would have thought that the old ancestor of the He family would take the initiative to come knocking on their door? Following that, Qin Feiyang also swept into the galaxy like lightning, and saw that in the depths of the galaxy, Yun Zhongtian and He Qinggang stood facing each other, their eyes flashing with a cold light. Qin Feiyang walked to Yun Zhongtian's side and looked at He Qinggang and He Qinggang opposite him, and said with a smile, "I really don't know who gave you the courage to attack us now. If I were you, I would first go to the temple and take out the sovereign divine weapon of the Divine Weapon Pavilion before attacking the Yun family." Huh. When He Qinggang and He Qinggang heard this, they couldn't help but laugh. What are they doing? This is completely out of our expectations. Yun Zhongtian replied. Many things can change in an instant, so not everything can be predicted by us. But this is exactly what I want, because as long as we can get the key in the hands of the old ancestor of the He family, we will be able to gain control of the sovereign divine weapon. Qin Feiyang smiled inwardly. Yun Zhongtian was taken aback, and said to himself, that makes sense. But their reaction now is indeed a little strange. Say, do you think they could have borrowed the sovereign divine weapon from the dragons? Otherwise, where would they find such confidence? They even took the initiative to invite us into the galaxy for a battle to the death. Qin Feiyang raised an eyebrow without a trace, looking at He Qinggang and He Qinggang who were brimming with confidence, and said, "You don't say, there really is such a possibility. Then should we run?" Yun Zhongtian asked secretly. Run? Qin Feiyang was stunned for a moment before he replied, not to that extent, because even if the dragons were willing to lend them the sovereign divine weapon, they would not lend them all at once. And they would not have the guts to borrow so many from the dragons. My guess is that even so, they would at most have one sovereign divine weapon. One sovereign divine weapon. Yun Zhongtian murmured. If there is only one sovereign divine weapon, then there is nothing to worry about. Qin Feiyang said. That's true. Yun Zhongtian smiled inwardly. One sovereign divine weapon was not a match for Qin Feiyang. And right at that moment, the old ancestor of the He family stopped laughing and looked at Qin Feiyang and Yun Zhongtian to say, initially, we had indeed planned to go to the temple to retrieve the sovereign divine weapon the moment we got the key, but now we have changed our plans. Because even without that sovereign divine weapon, it would be easy for us to kill the two of you now. Is that so? Yun Zhongtian laughed coldly. What do you think? We have known each other for so many years. Would this old man do something that I am not confident in? I'm not afraid to tell you that even if a heavenly god descends today, he won't be able to save you because this old man has a sovereign divine weapon. As the old ancestor of the He family's voice fell, there was a loud clanging sound as a blood-red dagger appeared. Divine power surged and shattered in all directions. Blood Dragon Dagger. Qin Feiyang's pupils shrank. You have seen it before? Yun Zhongtian said inwardly. That's right. This is the Blood Dragon Prince's sovereign divine weapon. Qin Feiyang transmitted his voice. No wonder you are so confident. Yun Zhongtian sneered inwardly. Qin Feiyang said inwardly, so, cooperating with me is the best choice for your Yun family. Otherwise, no matter what you do, the He family will not let you off. That's right. Yun Zhongtian nodded. Fortunately, he made a wise decision, otherwise the fate of the Yun family would be worrying. How is it? Are you surprised? Are you surprised? The old ancestor of the He family and He Qinggang laughed again, their eyes full of ridicule. After the transmission ended, they were thinking about whether they should take the opportunity to get rid of Yun Guanghui here. However, they did not have much confidence. Because they had expected that Yun Zhongtian would not trust them and might hide in Yun Guanghui's spatial divine item. If it was only Yun Guanghui alone, with their strength, they would naturally be able to easily deal with him. But if Yun Zhongtian was also there, then the strength of the two sides would be evenly matched. No one could kill the other. After some discussion, they thought of the dragons. Although these people were not easy to get along with, they could still give it a try. So, with the mentality of trying, they ran to the dragons. What they had not expected was that upon hearing their pleas, the dragon clan had only given them a moment's thought before lending them the sovereign divine weapon. Although they had only lent them one, it was more than enough to crush Yun Zhongtian and Yun Guanghui. 2 chapters today. Chapter 3505. How despicable. Yun Zhongtian's face was gloomy. But in fact, he was laughing in his heart. So what if you have the dragons helping you? My Yun family also has Qin Feiyang as a backer. Although Qin Feiyang was not as good as the dragons now, one day in the future, it was not certain who would be stronger and who would be weaker. Don't talk about the future, just talk about the present. Right now, Qin Feiyang is stronger than your He family. With a sovereign weapon, you want to defy the heavens? Is that possible? Despicable? I didn't expect that an old antique like you would say such childish words. Those who don't know would think that you are a 3-year-old child. The winner is the king and the loser is the bandit. Don't you understand this logic? Kneel down. I will leave you with an intact corpse. The old ancestor of the He family looked at Qin Feiyang and Yun Zhongtian arrogantly, his eyes full of contempt, completely like a villain who had succeeded. The one who needs to kneel down is you. Qin Feiyang opened his mouth and laughed. The dignified temple lord was like this? It was really disappointing. An overlord like this, even if he was not highly respected, at least had the demeanor of a big shot. The one standing in front of him now was just a clown. Hearing this, He Qinggang immediately looked at Qin Feiyang and sneered, Yun Guanghui, are you stupid? In the face of a sovereign weapon, you still dare to be arrogant? You are the stupid one. Really? I'm not joking. Qin Feiyang laughed. You are courting death. He Qinggang's eyes turned cold as he looked at the blood dragon blade and shouted, kill him. However, not only did the blood dragon blade not make a move, but he asked, are you ordering me? He Qinggang's body stiffened, and he hurriedly crawled up with a flattering smile on his face, and said respectfully, no, no, how would I dare to order you? I am begging you to help us kill them. That's more like it. The blood dragon blade smiled coldly. Qin Feiyang laughed and said, and here I was thinking how awesome you were. But when the sovereign armament opened its mouth, it was like a grandson. He Qinggang clenched his fists and looked at the blood dragon blade respectfully. Sir, please kill him. Clang. The blood dragon edge immediately came to life and its divine might surged out towards Qin Feiyang and Yun Zhongtian as it said in displeasure, "It's like you actually need this esteemed one to personally make a move." Without waiting for blood dragon blade to finish, Qin Feiyang smiled and said, "Are you trying to say that it's a waste of talent? Not bad. People like you are not even trash in this sovereign's eyes." The blood dragon blade sneered. Its sharpness could topple mountains and overturn seas, shattering 100,000 miles of the Milky Way. It was a scene of destruction. So in your eyes, I'm not even trash. Interesting, interesting. Qin Feiyang laughed loudly, and a terrifying divine might rushed out from his body. What? The blood dragon blade's expression changed. This godly aura seemed to belong to Qin Feiyang's sovereign divine weapon. Boom! In the next instant, a horsetail whisk appeared. The godly aura was vast and mighty, and it constantly collided with the blood dragon blade's godly aura in the Milky Way. It really is Qin Feiyang's sovereign divine weapon. The blood dragon blade was shocked. You. The old ancestor of the He family and He Chenggang were also dumbfounded. That's right, this is a trap that we set up with Qin Feiyang. Do you really think that victory is assured? You don't know that everything is within our calculations. Yun Zhongtian sneered. Damn it! Retreat! The blood dragon blade roared and took the two of them to the exit of the Milky Way. Never would he have thought that Qin Feiyang was controlling the Yun family from behind the scenes. If that was the case, Qin Feiyang must be in the dark. One must know. Qin Feiyang had two sovereign divine weapons, and the slaughter domain was comparable to a sovereign divine weapon. With just its strength alone, it was not Qin Feiyang's opponent. Clang! But at this moment, with a loud bang, the ancient castle appeared and instantly sealed the exit of the Milky Way. At the same time, the horsetail whisk came back to life and charged towards the blood dragon blade with monstrous power. Bastard! The blood dragon blade roared and released its godly aura. The old ancestor of the He family was immediately sent deeper into the Milky Way. Ancient castle, you must seal the exit and don't let the battle ripple out, lest it startles the dragon's other sovereign divine weapons. Horsetail whisk, your task is only to stall the blood dragon blade. As for the old ancestor of the He family, He Chenggang, leave it to me and Yun Zhongtian to deal with. Qin Feiyang smiled coldly, and after speaking, he and Yun Zhongtian charged towards He Chenggang and He Chenggang in the depths of the Milky Way. Roger. The two sovereign divine weapons responded. The ancient castle's godly aura surged and instantly sealed the exit of the Milky Way. Old dog Yun, aren't you despicable? Seeing Qin Feiyang and Yun Zhongtian charging towards him, the old ancestor of the He family roared hysterically, his face full of panic. They had thought that with the help of the blood dragon blade, killing Yun Zhongtian and He Chenggang would be a piece of cake. Never would they have thought that this was a trap set up by the other party. What was even more unexpected was that the Yun family had already defected to Qin Feiyang. Winner takes all. That's what you said. However, this old man would like to ask you now. Are you surprised? Are you surprised? Yun Zhongtian laughed loudly. Weren't you laughing maniacally just now? Continue. When the old ancestor of the He family heard this, his face turned gloomy. The tables had turned too quickly. A moment ago, they were still confident of victory, and in the next moment, they were like turtles in a jar, unable to react in time. Yun Zhongtian stopped laughing and looked at the old ancestor of the Yun family, saying, "The two of us have known each other for so many years, but we have never really fought. Today's opportunity is quite rare, so why don't we put aside all our worries and have a fated battle?" The old ancestor of the He family glanced at the blood dragon blade. It seemed that this was their only choice. Moreover, as long as they could kill Yun Zhongtian, then even if they died, they would at least have a scapegoat. All right. The old ancestor of the He family nodded. Using a supreme-level auxiliary technique, he brought along a monstrous power of death. Like a death god, he madly charged towards Yun Zhongtian. So he has mastered the law of death. Qin Feiyang muttered and looked at Yun Zhongtian, only to see a mighty law rushing out of Yun Zhongtian's body, exuding a terrifying power of destruction. It turned out to be the law of destruction. It seemed that the various big shots of the sky cloud realm had indeed mastered the strongest law. Boom! The two supreme masters met with a loud bang. The confrontation of power, the collision of flesh and law, destroyed everything in all directions. Gates of hell. Dusk of the gods. The old ancestor of the He family roared. The fifth profound meaning and the supreme profound meaning were activated at the same time. Like the death god of hell descending, the galaxy shook, and the aura of death flooded the sky. Destruction Behemoth. Destruction God. Yun Zhongtian's eyes turned cold. The law of destruction surged majestically as a huge beast appeared, like a desolate beast descending into the world, causing the galaxy to collapse crazily. At the same time, in the sky, there was a huge statue of a god. The statue was holding a long spear, as tall as the sky, like an ancient giant, crossing the sky. The destructive power emitted from its body was even more terrifying. This was the supreme profound meaning of the law of destruction, the destruction god. Boom! In an instant, the four profound meanings collided together. The galaxy turned into chaos, and the chaotic chi roared in all directions, as if heaven and earth had just been created. Puff! The two of them also spat out a mouthful of blood at the same time, their faces faintly pale. It was enough to show that the strength of the two was indeed not much different. Just as Qin Feiyang was engrossed in watching, he suddenly felt a sense of danger. He abruptly turned around and saw that He Qinggang had already swept behind him at an unknown time and was throwing a punch at him. The dignified patriarch of the He family also wants to launch a sneak attack. Qin Feiyang chuckled. He teleported and retreated like a bolt of lightning. Your reaction is quite fast. He Qinggang snorted coldly. In an instant, he had activated 6 laws. There was the law of sword, law of light, law of earth, law of metal. However, there was no supreme profound meaning. With the appearance of the 6 profound meanings, the 5 profound meanings also appeared. Although they were not as powerful as the supreme profound meaning, their power was still shocking enough. The grudge between the Yun family and the He family will be completely settled today. Kill! He Qinggang roared, and the 6 fifth profound meanings, which carried a world-shaking power, shot toward Qin Feiyang from all directions. Do you still think that I am Yun Guanghui? Qin Feiyang was stunned. It seemed that this person was really stupid. Indeed. He Qinggang did not suspect his identity. He only thought that the Yun family was the same as the He family, borrowing a sovereign divine weapon from Qin Feiyang. Great Circle Sovereign Realm, 6/5 profound. If it was in the past, Qin Feiyang would not dare to face such strength head-on. But now, he had comprehended the supreme profound meaning of the law of karma and inherited the supreme profound meaning of the law of destruction. A perfection sovereign like He Qinggang did not put him in his eyes at all. Shua! He did not fight head-on. With a flash, he dodged the 6 profound meanings. Why are you dodging? He Qinggang roared. Qin Feiyang smiled. If I don't dodge, you will be killed instantly. Killed instantly? When He Qinggang heard this, he raised his head and laughed. Do you think I don't know your strength? Do you think you can kill me instantly? You must be joking. Believe me. I have always kept a low profile, so you might not know about my methods. Qin Feiyang chuckled. Stop pretending. Don't dodge if you have the guts. We have fought for so many years, but I don't think we have ever fought head-on. Let's go all out today and see who is stronger. He Qinggang laughed sinisterly. The 6 profound meanings surged around him as he punched towards Qin Feiyang. His aura was quite terrifying. Is that so? Then I will grant you your wish. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. The law of karma appeared, and 10 golden lotuses appeared in the void in front of him. What? He Qinggang had already arrived in front of Qin Feiyang. When he saw the 10 golden lotuses, his expression changed drastically. It was actually the law of karma, and it even had the supreme profound meaning. What kind of joke was this? When did Yun Guanghui comprehend the law of karma? There was no news of such a big matter at all. While He Qinggang was still in shock, 10 golden lotuses shot towards him. Each of them was as dazzling as the sun. He Qinggang immediately let out a blood-curdling scream as he was sent flying like a meteor. In the blink of an eye, his body was covered in blood. Qin Feiyang used the spacetime step and caught up with He Qinggang at lightning speed. He grabbed He Qinggang's universe ring and forcefully removed it from his finger. This was because He Qinggang had kept the key to the Divine Weapon Pavilion and Yun Zhongtian's identity token in his universe ring. Chapter 3506. How is this possible? The old ancestor of the He clan looked at the scene in disbelief. Yun Guanghui had mastered the supreme karma law. It was like the Yun clan suddenly having a sovereign divine weapon. It was hard for them to accept. Just as the old ancestor of the He clan was distracted, Yun Zhongtian seized the opportunity and the destruction law surged, instantly drowning the old ancestor of the He clan. Ah! A painful scream was heard. In an instant, the old ancestor of the He clan was covered in injuries. However, he was an overlord after all. Whether it was his reaction or strength, he could not be underestimated. In the nick of time, a set of battle armor appeared on his body. This was a supreme being level heaven-defying armor. In the end, he managed to preserve his old life, but his injuries couldn't be ignored. After Qin Feiyang found the token and key, he crushed the universe ring and looked at He Qinggang opposite him. When did you comprehend the karma law? He Qinggang asked in a low voice. Qin Feiyang was slightly stunned and looked at He Qinggang helplessly. I'm really not. Are you really stupid or are you pretending to be stupid? You still haven't realized that I'm not Yun Guanghui. What? You're not Yun Guanghui? He Qinggang was stunned. The old ancestor of the He clan also looked at Qin Feiyang in surprise. Qin Feiyang's face was filled with a bitter smile. These people's reactions were just too slow. After putting away the token and key, he took out a face-restoring pill and threw it into his mouth. Immediately, under the shocked gazes of the He clan's old ancestor, his true appearance was restored. You are Qin Feiyang. The two of them roared. That's me. It seems that my acting skills are not bad. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to fool you for so long. Qin Feiyang laughed. Damn it. Their faces were extremely gloomy. How could it be this fierce person? They would rather face the dragons than this person. Because everything that this person had done over the years was right in front of them. Conquering the itinerant cultivator alliance and the demon hall, destroying the blood hall, which one of them was not shocking? Most importantly, he was still so young. Most people at this age would still act spoiled in front of their parents, but this child had already become an existence whose name shook the entire sky cloud realm. Even those of the older generation felt ashamed of their inferiority. This was especially true for his shrewdness and killing intent. It was really frightening. When they saw Qin Feiyang, it was as if they had seen the arrival of the Grim Reaper. They couldn't help but feel a sense of terror that couldn't be dissipated. No. During the last exchange, didn't someone say that Qin Feiyang had only comprehended the fifth profundity of the law of karma not long ago? How did he comprehend the ultimate profound meaning so quickly? His innate talent was too terrifying. Could it be that he really was the chosen one? Run! The old ancestor of the He clan came back to his senses and roared decisively. Where can you run to? Yun Zhongtian laughed coldly as he unleashed all of his profound laws. Like a demon god, he charged towards the He family's old ancestor. He Qinggang also turned around and fled. He activated his supreme tier support godly art to the extreme. Qin Feiyang couldn't help laughing. The exit of the Star River had already been sealed off by the ancient castle, so where could he escape to? Unless he had the law of spacetime. But the current situation wouldn't give him the chance to activate the law of spacetime or use a spacetime teleportation divine artifact to escape. Swoosh! Qin Feiyang used the spacetime step and chased after him at lightning speed. He Qinggang panicked as he frantically fled into the depths of the Star River. his speed was still faster than Qin Feiyang's. Because Qin Feiyang's cultivation was still one stage lower than his. And the ultimate profound meaning of the law of karma and the law of destruction didn't have the effect of increasing his speed. Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed. With a wave of his hand, Yun Guanghui and the white-eyed wolf appeared. He pointed at He Qinggang and said, "I'll leave him to you. Leave him alive. I have a use for him." "No problem." The man and the wolf smiled coldly. Yun Guanghui activated his supreme tier support godly art. The white-eyed wolf activated the instant time and disappeared into the depths of the Star River. Qin Feiyang decisively turned around and activated the ultimate profound meaning of the law of karma, charging towards the He family's old ancestor. The He family's old ancestor was the most important. Because the key to opening the divine weapon pavilion was with him. If he wanted to obtain the support of the sovereign divine weapon, he had to get the key. And now, the He family's old ancestor was entangled by Yun Zhongtian. It was impossible for him to escape. "Qin Feiyang, let's talk." Seeing Qin Feiyang charging over, the He family's old ancestor immediately shouted in panic. In a one-on-one battle, his cultivation was higher than Qin Feiyang's and he had complete confidence that he could crush Qin Feiyang. But now, the one fighting him head-on wasn't Qin Feiyang, but Yun Zhongtian. Qin Feiyang was only assisting Yun Zhongtian from the side. Yun Zhongtian's strength wasn't any weaker than his and with Qin Feiyang's assistance, he would fall sooner or later. Although Qin Feiyang's cultivation wasn't as high as his, the ultimate profound meaning of the law of karma was enough to pose a threat to him. "There doesn't seem to be anything to discuss between us." Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. With a wave of his hand, 10 golden lotuses shattered the sky and whizzed over, their auras firmly locked onto the He family's old ancestor. "We can discuss. My He family can also cooperate with you to fight against that mysterious force." The He family's old ancestor roared. "What about He Tian's death?" Qin Feiyang asked with a smile. The He family's old ancestor said without hesitation, "He's just a good-for-nothing junior. It doesn't matter. You're really heartless. But what I want is not cooperation, but submission. If you submit to me, I can consider letting you go." Qin Feiyang shook his head. "All right. I submit." The He family's old ancestor nodded without hesitation. In fact, he was most afraid of the slaughter zone. Because the power of the slaughter zone was well known. Once Qin Feiyang activated the slaughter zone, even a heavenly god wouldn't be able to save him. In short, no matter what, he had to escape this calamity first. With a thought, Qin Feiyang stopped the 10 golden lotuses and hovered above the He family's old ancestor. He said with a smile, "Then stop resisting and enter the Sea of Qi." "What? Enter the Sea of Qi?" The He family's old ancestor's face stiffened. If Qin Feiyang was just bluffing him now, then when he destroyed his Sea of Qi, wouldn't he be a fish on the chopping board, waiting to be slaughtered by these two? At that time, he wouldn't even have the right to self-destruct. "Looks like you're not sincere about submitting." Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed coldly as the 10 golden lotuses descended. At the same time, Yun Zhongtian also activated the destruction law's supreme profundity, bringing with him the power to destroy the world as he charged over. Boom! Facing 2 supreme profundities, the He family's old ancestor didn't dare to be careless. The 6 supreme profundities that he had mastered appeared one after another. Among them, the supreme profundity of the death law went against Yun Zhongtian's destruction law. The other 5 supreme profundities went against Qin Feiyang's cause and effect law. Because he had to face a strong enemy like Yun Zhongtian head-on. Otherwise, just Yun Zhongtian's destruction law was enough to kill him in a matter of minutes. However, although the He family's old ancestor blocked Yun Zhongtian's destruction law, he couldn't block Qin Feiyang's cause and effect law. Because a mere fifth profundity was no match for the supreme profundity of the cause and effect law. The 5 supreme profundities were annihilated on the spot. The 10 golden lotuses seemed to split the heavens and earth as they blasted towards the He family's old ancestor. Crack! After a long battle, the He family's old ancestor's battle armor finally reached its limit and shattered with a loud crack. Following that, the 10 golden lotuses exploded with a destructive power that drowned the He family's old ancestor. Even if his cultivation was higher than Qin Feiyang by a small realm, it was still difficult for him to block the power of the 10 golden lotuses. His body was torn to pieces as his blood dyed the void red. It was also at this moment. Yun Zhongtian took a step forward and instantly landed in front of the He family's old ancestor, grabbing the universe ring on his hand. At the same time, he raised his other hand and an invisible force rolled out, blasting towards the He family's old ancestor's head. Ah! With a shrill scream, the He family's old ancestor's head exploded like a watermelon. A ray of light rushed out from the blood mist, his face filled with horror as he fled into the depths of the galaxy without looking back. This was the He family's old ancestor's soul. Yun Zhongtian waved his hand and threw the universe ring to Qin Feiyang. Then, using the supreme stage heaven-defying auxiliary divine art, he stepped in front of the He family's old ancestor's soul and sneered, "Where do you think you're going? Don't kill me. Old man Yun. No no no, big brother Yun. Our 2 families have been partners for many years and our ancestors are as close as brothers. Even if you don't give me face, can you give me a way out?" The He family's old ancestor's soul begged again and again. If it was before, his physical body had not been shattered and he still had the strength to fight. But now, he was only left with his soul. Not to mention Yun Zhongtian, even Qin Feiyang would be able to destroy him with a wave of his hand. Because Qin Feiyang had grasped the most profound meaning of the supreme law. As close as brothers? Yun Zhongtian's face showed a trace of mockery as he sneered, "In the beginning, the ancestors of our 2 families were indeed as close as brothers. But when the divine temple stabilized, driven by ambition and desire, they fell out with each other. It was from that time that our 2 families were like fire and water. Now, you still have the nerve to tell me this? But it is undeniable that the relationship between our 2 families was indeed very good. If you let me go, I will give you the sovereign divine weapon and the control of the divine temple with both hands. I will also promise that from today onwards, my He family will become a subsidiary of your Yun family." The He family's old ancestor begged. "Your universe ring is already in the hands of Qin Feiyang. Do I still need you to give away the control of the divine temple? We'll talk about it later. Didn't you say before that my Yun family will become a subsidiary of your He family?" Yun Zhongtian looked at him playfully. "I was just joking. Did you take it seriously? Your Yun family is the #1 family in the southern continent. All these years, it was actually your Yun family who gave in to our He family. Big brother Yun, please give me a chance. I will definitely assist you well in managing the divine temple and the southern continent." The He family's old ancestor did not hesitate to put down his pride and dignity to kneel before Yun Zhongtian like a dog, wagging his tail and begging for mercy. Where was the demeanor of the #1 family in the southern continent? If any outsider were to see this, they would definitely be dumbfounded. "My apologies, this old man does not need your assistance. We'll talk about it later. If it were you now, would you let this old man go?" Yun Zhongtian laughed coldly, his divine power roaring out as he struck a palm towards the He family's old ancestor's soul. Chapter 3507. The He clan's old ancestor quivered. He quickly turned around and ran in front of Qin Feiyang. He hugged Qin Feiyang's thigh and begged, "Brother Qin, it's my fault. I shouldn't have colluded with those people. You're a great person who doesn't remember the wrongs of a lowly person." Qin Feiyang kicked him away and said indifferently, "At that time, before He Tian self-destructed, I had already given your He clan a chance, but you didn't know how to cherish it." "Yes, yes, yes. It's all my fault. I'm a bastard who doesn't know what's good for him. I beg you, give me another chance. I promise to serve you wholeheartedly. Look, I have the laws of death, and I have the highest profound meaning. I will definitely be able to help you. Just treat me like a dog. Can you pity me?" Old ancestor of the He clan desperately crawled in front of Qin Feiyang and begged again and again. "Can you have some backbone? You are the temple master of the temple after all." Qin Feiyang was helpless. When old ancestor of the He clan heard this, he really had the urge to curse. Could backbone be eaten? At this time, Yun Zhongtian walked over with a murderous aura, looked at Qin Feiyang and said, "Brother Qin, you must hand this person over to this old man, because to this old man, there is nothing more satisfying than killing him." "Don't," old ancestor of the He clan trembled, looked at Qin Feiyang, and cried out, "Brother Qin, don't, I beg you, give me a way out, I am willing to hand over everything of the He clan to you." Qin Feiyang remained silent. Yun Zhongtian's eyes were filled with killing intent, but he did not act rashly. Because he knew that if not for Qin Feiyang, he would not have been able to do this. And now, the one kneeling and begging for mercy was definitely not the He clan's old ancestor, but him. Shua. At this time, Yun Guanghui and the white-eyed wolf broke through the air. He Qinggang was grabbed by Yun Guanghui, like a dead dog, limp and powerless in the air. Done. The white-eyed wolf bared its fangs. Yun Guanghui casually tossed He Qinggang beside the He clan's old ancestor. "We've also settled it." Qin Feiyang chuckled. The white-eyed wolf glanced at the old ancestor of the He clan and said disdainfully, "Let's talk about you. In any case, you're a supreme expert. Why are you so weak? I'm no match for you." The old ancestor of the He clan smiled apologetically. "How shameless." The white-eyed wolf smiled disdainfully. In the meantime, when He Qinggang saw that the old ancestor had fallen to such a state, the despair in his eyes intensified. "Senior Yun, please come with me." Qin Feiyang swept his gaze over the two of them and his eyes flashed as he looked at Yun Zhongtian and asked with a smile. Yun Zhongtian looked suspiciously at Qin Feiyang. "There's something I want to discuss with you." Qin Feiyang smiled faintly and turned to walk off to the side. Yun Zhongtian was still a little puzzled as he quickly followed after him. Qin Feiyang stopped in his tracks and turned his head to look at Yun Zhongtian as he transmitted his voice to him. "Senior, a straightforward person does not resort to insinuations. I do not want to kill them now." "Why?" Yun Zhongtian could not help but frown. "Because they are still useful." Qin Feiyang thought to himself. "What use?" Yun Zhongtian asked suspiciously. "He Qinggang definitely does not have much value. But the old ancestor of the He clan, if used properly, can still be of great value. Because now, he has already gained the trust of the dragons." Qin Feiyang said with a smile. Yun Zhongtian was slightly taken aback and pondered for a moment before he asked, "What you mean is, to let him be our spy?" "Senior is indeed a senior, to be able to see through it with just a hint." "That's right. The dragons are not that easy to deal with. If we can plant a spy beside them, to us, it will definitely be of critical use." Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed with a bright light. "But, will this one with the surname He truly submit to us? Moreover, that blood dragon blade has been watching the entire time. When the time comes, won't it tell the princess and prince of the dragons?" Yun Zhongtian asked. "I have a way to control the old ancestor of the He clan. He will not dare to act rashly. As for the blood dragon blade, I have a bold plan." Qin Feiyang said. "What plan?" Yun Zhongtian was bewildered. Subdue it and use it for us. Qin Feiyang paused after every word, like a sudden clap of thunder, crashing into Yun Zhongtian's mind. He actually wanted to subdue the sovereign divine weapon of the dragons? That was just a little too much. How could a sovereign divine weapon be so easily subdued? Besides, even if the sovereign divine weapon recognized its master with a drop of blood, it would not be able to bind it. What if it said it would submit, but there was something fishy in its heart? Qin Feiyang transmitted his voice with a laugh. I know your concerns. I have a way to control the sovereign divine weapon as well, just like the horsetail whisk. Isn't it obeying my every command now? Hearing that, Yun Zhongtian looked at Qin Feiyang in bewilderment. In a moment, you will see how I control it. But before that, I want you to let the old ancestor of the He clan go first. Of course. Old Pei has told this junior about the grudge between your two clans. If you insist on killing him, this junior will not stop you. You also do not have to consider the problem of destroying the relationship between us. This junior is not that kind of person. In any case, this junior respects your choice. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. When Yun Zhongtian heard those words, his heart was a little touched. Because with Qin Feiyang's current level of power, he did not need to seek his consent to keep the old ancestor of the He clan alive. And even if Qin Feiyang did so, he would not dare to have any complaints. But, Qin Feiyang did not use such a forceful method but chose to seek his consent first. That showed that Qin Feiyang was showing him a respectful attitude. To be respected by others, was naturally a very happy thing. Similarly, if others respected you, you should respect them as well. That was the most basic quality of being a person. Yun Zhongtian looked at the old ancestor of the He clan and muttered to himself for a while before he transmitted his voice, all right. As long as it is beneficial to your plan, this little bit of personal grudge can be set aside for now. Thank you. Qin Feiyang smiled gratefully. No matter what, the boldness, character, and conduct that Yun Zhongtian had displayed so far was worthy of respect and trust. He could even be described as a person of virtue and prestige. The two of them returned to the side of the white-eyed wolf and Yun Guanghui. The white-eyed wolf looked at the two of them suspiciously and asked, "What sort of sinister plot are you two discussing? Can you not speak so crudely?" Qin Feiyang rolled his eyes at him and looked at the old ancestor of the He clan and He Chenggang before he said with a smile, "I have discussed this with Elder Yun and he can give you a way out." Really? Hearing that, the two of them were overjoyed. Qin Feiyang then said, "But you two are smart people and you should know that I have conditions." I know. Just give us your orders." The old ancestor of the He clan nodded his head repeatedly. He did not care about anything else first, as long as he could save his own life first. "You two swear. From now on, you will serve me and never betray me," Qin Feiyang said with a smile. Just like that? The two of them were stunned and quickly raised their hands to swear. Wait a moment. What I want is not this kind of oath that is no different from a fart. Let me teach you. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly and told the two of them the method of making the blood oath. Thus, the two of them followed Qin Feiyang's method and swore the blood oath one after another. What's different about this oath? Yun Zhongtian and Yun Guanghui looked at Qin Feiyang suspiciously. It's different. You should see the effect of breaking the oath soon. Qin Feiyang smiled secretly and glanced at the old ancestor of the He clan and He Chenggang. Suddenly, a ray of heavenly punishment fell from the sky and headed straight for He Chenggang. Retreat! Qin Feiyang shouted. The group of people quickly retreated, including the old ancestor of the He clan, leaving behind a panicked and confused He Chenggang. Why would there be heavenly punishment? With a scream, He Chenggang was destroyed on the spot. This? Yun Zhongtian and Yun Guanghui were dumbfounded. Especially the old ancestor of the He clan, his eyes almost popped out. Could this have something to do with the oath from before? Qin Feiyang retracted his gaze and turned to look at the old ancestor of the He clan. He smiled, "You are very lucky, you know. Although you have submitted on the surface, at least for the time being, you did not have the intention to betray me. Otherwise, the one being punished by the heavens would not only be He Chenggang, but you too. It really has something to do with the oath." The old ancestor of the He clan's eyes trembled. "That's right. This oath is called a blood oath. A blood oath is different from an ordinary oath. Because a blood oath will come true. Do you know why the horsetail whisk is so loyal to me? It is because of the binding of the blood oath." Qin Feiyang smiled. "I see." The old ancestor of the He clan mumbled. All the thoughts in his heart dissipated in an instant, leaving only fear and respect. If even a sovereign divine weapon could be bound, then there was no need to mention him. At the same time, Yun Zhongtian and Yun Guanghui looked at each other, and a sense of respect rose in their hearts. Two sovereign divine weapons, slaughter domain, the supreme mystery of the law of karma, and all kinds of secret techniques to control others. Fortunately, they did not become enemies with this man. Otherwise, with this man's means, it would be child's play if he wanted to deal with the Yun clan. They still didn't know how powerful the dragon race was, but they deeply understood and experienced how terrifying Qin Feiyang was. This was an existence that they absolutely couldn't become enemies with. They finally understood why the Rogue Cultivator Alliance and the Demon Palace had helped Qin Feiyang so much in the past. On one hand, it was admiration. On the other hand, it was respect. Wait. Suddenly, Yun Zhongtian frowned, looked at Qin Feiyang and asked, "I heard that you have fallen out with the Demon Palace and the Rogue Cultivator Alliance?" Qin Feiyang glanced at the blood dragon blade who was still fighting with the horsetail whisk and said in a low voice, "I will tell you about this later. White-Eyed Wolf, accompany Senior Yun to the Divine Palace immediately and get the sovereign divine weapon. I will need its help later." "Okay." The White-Eyed Wolf nodded. "Wait. We haven't gotten the list of spies yet, right?" Yun Guanghui suddenly said. Qin Feiyang looked at Yun Guanghui and handed the token and key to Yun Zhongtian. He looked at the man and wolf and said, "You two go first." "Okay." Yun Zhongtian nodded and gave the White-Eyed Wolf a set of coordinates. The White-Eyed Wolf immediately opened a space-time passage and the man and wolf rushed in like lightning. Qin Feiyang looked at Yun Guanghui and pointed at the He clan's old ancestor with a smile, "He should know." Yun Guanghui heard this and immediately looked at the He clan's old ancestor. "What spy?" The He clan's old ancestor was suspicious. "Why are you acting dumb? It's the spy your He clan arranged in our Yun clan," Yun Guanghui said angrily. Chapter 3508. So that's the case. The old ancestor of the He clan nodded and said, "I know a little." "A little?" Yun Guanghui frowned. "Yes. I only know some important people. For example, the commander of the guards of the Yun clan. He is the spy of the He clan." The old ancestor of the He clan said. "What? The commander of the guards is actually the spy of the He clan?" Yun Guanghui was shocked. "That's right. We bribed him with a heaven-defying artifact. I was the one who asked He Chenggang to handle this matter personally." The old ancestor of the He clan nodded. "Scoundrel. What a white-eyed wolf." Yun Guanghui clenched his fists. Qin Feiyang looked at Yun Guanghui and asked, "Do you trust the commander of the guards? In a clan like ours, there isn't much trust. However, I have a clear conscience. In the early years, not only did I give him a lot of resources, but I also let him enter the time array to cultivate in seclusion. But I didn't expect him to betray the Yun clan. After knowing this, even the gentle Yun Guanghui couldn't help but grit his teeth. His face was as dark as water. Qin Feiyang shook his head and sighed. This was the way of the world. Even if you were sincere to others, you might not be able to exchange it for their sincerity. Therefore, everyone who was loyal to him was a precious treasure. He had to cherish them. Qin Feiyang looked at the old ancestor of the He clan and asked, "How many people like the commander of the guards are there?" 11. They all hold important positions in the Yun clan. I can give you a list when the time comes. As for the other small fries, I'm not sure. Because the small fries are usually handled by He Qinggang and He Qingxiang. The old ancestor of the He clan said. He Qingxiang? Qin Feiyang was suspicious. He Qinggang and He Qingxiang are brothers. The former is the eldest and the latter is the second. The current affairs of the He clan are handled by the two of them. Yun Guanghui explained. In that case, we have to find He Qingxiang. Qin Feiyang frowned. That's easy. As long as I give the order, he will obediently make a list and hand it to me. When the He clan's old ancestor saw that the opportunity to perform a meritorious deed had arrived, he immediately opened his mouth and laughed. All right. I'll leave this matter to you. Qin Feiyang nodded. Then I'll go back now? The old ancestor of He clan asked. If we go back now, don't let the dragons discover us. Qin Feiyang pondered for a moment before summoning Snowflake. Accompany him back to the He family. If he dares to play any tricks, kill him immediately. Snowflake was more than enough to deal with an old ancestor of the He clan who only had his divine soul left. How would I dare to play any tricks now? The old ancestor of the He clan smiled bitterly. That's not necessarily true. Yun Guanghui snorted and looked at Qin Feiyang. Do you want me to go with him? There's no need for that. Too many people might cause problems. Qin Feiyang waved his hand and looked at Snowflake. I'll leave it to you. No problem. Snowflake grinned. Because the old ancestor of He clan's body had been destroyed, he couldn't revive the divine message stone, so he had to go back in person. After the old ancestor of He clan and Snowflake left, Qin Feiyang turned to look at the blood dragon blade. The blood dragon blade had long wanted to escape. However, facing the blockade of the ancient castle and the entanglement of the horsetail whisk, it was almost impossible to escape from the Star River. Stop. Qin Feiyang spoke. His voice wasn't loud, but it was clearly transmitted to the minds of the weapon spirits of the horsetail whisk and the blood dragon blade. The two divine weapons stopped fighting at the same time and floated in the void. Qin Feiyang brought Yun Guanghui to the horsetail whisk and smiled at the blood dragon blade. Do you still need to struggle? It's not that easy for you to destroy me with these two divine weapons. The weapon spirit of the blood dragon blade grinned. I admit that. The ancient castle needs to seal the Star River, so I can't fight head-on. But if you think you have the right to be arrogant in front of me, you're gravely mistaken. Qin Feiyang's eyes turned cold, and the slaughter domain opened instantly. The blood dragon blade's heart trembled. Qin Feiyang said lightly, although I like to be reasonable, if I meet a stubborn guy, I don't mind using tough means. In fact, Qin Feiyang didn't have enough blood to feed the slaughter domain. Because the blood sea of the western region was almost empty when he fought with the first prince of the dragons. However, the blood dragon blade didn't know this. Even if he didn't stack the power of the slaughter domain, as long as the slaughter domain was opened, it could still deter the blood dragon blade. The blood dragon blade couldn't help but panic when he heard this. He also felt a great pressure and said in a low voice, "What do you want?" It's very simple. Submit to me. Qin Feiyang smiled. In your dreams. The blood dragon blade shouted angrily. For others, wanting a Dominator divine weapon to submit to them is no different from a dream, but do you think I can be the same? I believe you've heard of the two Dominator divine weapons, the Ice Dragon Sacred Sword and the Celestial Dragon God Sword. They fell in my hands. If you want to follow in their footsteps, I don't mind helping you. Qin Feiyang laughed. When the Blood Dragon Blade heard this, he couldn't help but feel his scalp go numb. Actually, you should have some understanding of me after these few confrontations. To be honest, the Prince and Princess of the Dragons are no match for me even if they join forces. It can even be said that if it weren't for your Dominator divine weapons protecting them, who knows how many times they would have died. There's a good saying, a fine bird chooses a tree to nest in. Even if you want to assist, shouldn't you assist someone who is worthy of your assistance? Not to mention anything else, at least I won't drag you down. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. Saying such words only shows that you're a frog at the bottom of a well, because you don't understand the strength of the dragons. Blood Dragon Blade snorted. Wrong. I've never doubted the strength of the dragons, and I'm not arrogant enough to look down on the existence of the dragons. But I still believe that man can conquer nature. Back then in the ancient world, when I faced the dragon clan, I was the same as I am now. I was like an ant, constantly on the run. But what happened in the end? Didn't the dragons of the ancient realm also die in my hands? If it wasn't for the Ice Dragon at the critical moment, his wife and child would already be in the ancient realm. Again. My current cultivation is indeed inferior to the dragons. But you can ask around. How long have I been in the Sky Cloud realm? But now, I've stepped into the perfect Dominator realm, and I've mastered the two supreme laws. Do you think that I have no hope of catching up with the dragons or even surpassing them? Qin Feiyang's tone was very calm, but Yun Guanghui and the three divine weapons of the sovereigns could feel a firm belief. It was only a matter of time before he caught up with the dragons and surpassed the dragons. But relatively speaking, Yun Guanghui was even more shocked. He had always thought that the supreme law Qin Feiyang mastered was the karma law, and that he had only comprehended the fifth profound. This was also known to the world. But previously, when Qin Feiyang suddenly revealed the highest profundity of the karma law, it had already given him a fright. But he didn't expect that. Now, he actually said that he had mastered the supreme profundities of two supreme laws. This was too terrifying. Was he still human? Let's not talk about me first. Let's talk about the white-eyed wolf. Now that you've mastered the four supreme laws, isn't that shocking enough? Qin Feiyang looked at Blood Dragon Blade and smiled. What? The ultimate profundity of the four supreme laws? Yun Guanghui's mind buzzed. What kind of monsters were these? Each one was more abnormal than the other. Blood Dragon Blade was silent. Actually, it's not difficult to choose. The dragons are very strong, but do they have a world in their hands? No, but I, Qin Feiyang, do. The dragons have many sovereign divine weapons, but do they have the ability to create a sovereign divine weapon in the shortest time possible? They don't, but I do. Whether it's a human or a sovereign divine weapon, we can't just look at the present. We have to look at the long term and see who has the real potential and is worthy of following. Although I, Qin Feiyang, am not a good person, I have always had a clear conscience about everything around me. In the eyes of the dragons, whether it's a sovereign divine weapon or a heaven-defying divine weapon, it's just a tool that can be used. But in my eyes, you are all my friends. I respect you and admire you. Maybe you won't believe it now. After all, we haven't had much contact, but you can try to understand me first. If you find out in the end that I'm not such a person, I won't stop you if you want to leave. Qin Feiyang said. Swish. It was also at this moment. A space-time transmission channel appeared, and White-Eyed Wolf and Yun Zhongtian returned. Yun Zhongtian was in high spirits, his spirits hale and hearty as he flew to stand before Qin Feiyang. With a wave of his hand, a black broadsword appeared, about 2 meters long and 4 fingers wide. The hilt of the sword was shaped like a skeleton, exuding an aura of death. "This is your sovereign divine weapon?" Qin Feiyang looked at the black broadsword and asked. "That's right. This sword is called the Sword of the Grim Reaper." Yun Zhongtian nodded. Qin Feiyang looked at the Sword of the Grim Reaper and said with a smile, "This is the first time we meet. I look forward to meeting you in the future." "You're welcome." The spirit of the Sword of the Grim Reaper responded. Its voice was like an undead from hell, revealing a ruthless indifference. Qin Feiyang turned his head to look at the blood dragon blade and said with a smile, "Now that we have 3 sovereign divine weapons in the slaughter domain, you have no chance. Even if the ancient castle doesn't seal off the Star River, we can still destroy you before your companions arrive." The blood dragon blade trembled slightly, and a panicked emotion spread out. "Don't hesitate anymore. Try to get to know me. I guarantee that you will never regret your decision today." Qin Feiyang smiled faintly and invited him with a kind expression. The blood dragon blade pondered for a moment, and finally sighed helplessly and said, "Do I have a choice?" "No." Qin Feiyang smiled. "All right. However, don't forget your promise. If I want to leave in the future, you can't stop me." The blood dragon blade said in a deep voice. "If I really do anything to let you down, you don't have to say anything. I will take the initiative to send you away." Qin Feiyang said. "Then it's a promise." After the blood dragon blade finished speaking, he quickly withdrew his aura. Chapter 3509. Hearing this, Qin Feiyang, Yun Guanghui, and Yun Zhongtian all had a smile on their faces. The white-eyed wolf's eyes flashed as he looked at Qin Feiyang and said, "Who knows if this is a delaying tactic?" "What do you mean?" The blood dragon blade immediately said angrily. "Don't be agitated. A sovereign divine weapon like you is always in danger. Without certain restrictions, who would really dare to keep you by their side? So, you have to make a blood oath." The white-eyed wolf sneered. "Blood oath." The blood dragon blade fell silent. Previously, when He Qinggang and the ancestor of the He family made a blood oath, it also noticed. This was a poisonous oath that would come true. Once it made a blood oath, wouldn't it be completely tied to Qin Feiyang and the others? In the future, even if it left, it would have to depend on Qin Feiyang. Frankly speaking, it didn't trust Qin Feiyang either. His words sounded nice now, and he could leave when he wanted to. But what if he was lying to it? "You don't dare. You're guilty. I think you're fooling us." The white-eyed wolf sneered. "Who says I don't dare? But can you trust me? When I make a blood oath, even if you go back on your words, what can I do? I can only be at your mercy." The blood dragon blade roared. "We can understand your feelings. But please understand us. A blood oath is definitely necessary. Otherwise, I wouldn't dare to keep you by my side. In short, please believe me. I've always been a man of my words. If you don't believe me, you can ask the horsetail whisk. Have I ever forced it to do anything over the years?" Qin Feiyang looked at the blood dragon blade and smiled. The blood dragon blade fell silent again. It really didn't dare to touch the blood oath. "As you said before, you have no choice now. You can only choose to believe Qin Feiyang. To be honest, I've always been unhappy with Qin Feiyang. However, I can't deny that he's indeed a pretty good young man. At the very least, I've never seen anyone who's more affectionate than him." Horsetail Whisk said suddenly. Hearing this, Blood Dragon Blade struggled for a moment and sighed, "All right, I'll make a blood oath." After the blood oath was completed, the ancient castle removed the seal on the Star River. He chuckled and said, "Isn't this a happy ending?" "Humph." Blood Dragon Blade snorted and said to Qin Feiyang, "I choose to believe you, so please don't let me down. The future is long. You will see." Qin Feiyang smiled. Whoosh. At this moment, another time and space teleportation tunnel appeared. Snowflake brought the old ancestor of the He family back. Yun Guanghui looked at Snow and asked, "How is it?" Snowflake said, "I've got the list. It's in his hands." Yun Guanghui immediately ran in front of Patriarch He and extended his hand. "Give it to me." Patriarch He handed Yun Guanghui a book that looked like an account book. Yun Guanghui immediately opened it. Every page was filled with densely packed names. Yun Guanghui flipped through the pages one by one. The more he read, the gloomier his face became. Yun Zhongtian also walked over and looked down. His face quickly turned gloomy. Just the first 3 pages had no less than 50 people. And several of them were now holding important positions in the Yun family. Qin Feiyang looked at the expressions of the two and sent a sound transmission. It seems that the number of spies and their positions in the Yun family have exceeded their imagination. Obviously. White-eyed Wolf bared his teeth. Patriarch He also noticed Blood Dragon Blade, who was obedient at the side. He looked at Qin Feiyang and asked in a low voice, "Has Blood Dragon Blade been subdued?" "Yes." Qin Feiyang nodded. Patriarch He's eyes trembled. He was really powerful. He said that he would subdue Blood Dragon Blade and he really did. In this way. Ancient Castle, Horsedale Whisk, Blood Dragon Blade, Sword of the Grim Reaper. Didn't Qin Feiyang have 4 sovereign divine weapons? 4 sovereign divine weapons. Just thinking about it made his scalp go numb. These bastards. I want to kill them all, not leaving a single one alive. Suddenly. Yun Guanghui roared, his big hand holding the list tightly, his face full of gloominess. "How many?" Qin Feiyang glanced at Yun Guanghui and asked Yun Zhongtian. "More than 300 people." Yun Zhongtian sighed. He didn't expect that the Yun family had so many spies. He originally thought that there were at most 100 people, but now the number was 3 times that. If these people were not eliminated, once the war with the He family broke out in the future, the consequences would be unimaginable. Qin Feiyang was secretly speechless. He was also shocked and asked curiously, "Then how many spies did the Yun family arrange in the He family?" "More than 70 people." Yun Zhongtian smiled bitterly. "That's quite a few levels lower." Qin Feiyang shook his head and laughed. He looked at the He family's old ancestor and gave him a thumbs up. "In this aspect, you guys are quite good." "No, no." The He family's old ancestor smiled embarrassedly. "Then let's move out. Snowflake, White-eyed Wolf, both of you have mastered the spacetime laws. I'll have to trouble you to follow Yun Zhongtian and Yun Guanghui to the Yun family and help them eliminate all the spies. Also, you must transfer all the Yun family members to Sea Lion Island before nightfall. As for the Yun family's resources, old Senior Yun, take as much as you can. Don't force it, lest you attract the attention of the dragons. After all, our Black Tortoise world doesn't lack resources." Qin Feiyang reminded. "Understood." Yun Zhongtian nodded. "Then let's move out. We'll meet at Sea Lion Island." As Qin Feiyang waved his hand, White-eyed Wolf immediately activated the spacetime laws and left with Snowflake and Yun Zhongtian. "What about us?" the He family's old ancestor asked. "You?" Qin Feiyang pondered for a moment before looking at the He family's old ancestor and asked, "What's your name?" "This subordinate is He Zhongtian." The He family's old ancestor replied respectfully. "He Zhongtian? Yun Zhongtian? Your names can't be a coincidence, right?" Qin Feiyang was stunned. It can be considered a competition between our parents. Our parents both wanted us to be successful, so they gave us this name. It means that we'll be like the sun in the sky. The He family's old ancestor smiled bitterly. Qin Feiyang couldn't help but laugh. They even had to compete for names. The competition between the two families was really intense. He then looked at He Zhongtian and Blood Dragon Blade and said, "You two should return to the dragon side. If there's any news, inform me immediately. You want us to be spies?" Blood Dragon Blade was dissatisfied. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly and said, "Something like that. But you don't have to risk your life. Just help me gather information." "No problem, no problem." The Blood Dragon Blade didn't say anything. After all, it was a sovereign divine weapon and had the right to express its dissatisfaction. However, He Zhongtian's attitude was still submissive. Because he knew his own limits. To Qin Feiyang, this so-called overlord of a region, his value was actually not that great. Qin Feiyang said, "Return to the He family after dark." "Why do we have to return after dark?" He Zhongtian was puzzled. "Because if you go back now, the prince and princess of the dragons will definitely ask about your situation. When they know that the Yun family has cooperated with me, they will definitely attack the Yun family immediately." Qin Feiyang said. "I see." He Zhongtian suddenly understood and said, "From what you're saying, when we return, we'll tell them everything?" "Yes. Other than the fact that you've turned over to the light, tell them everything truthfully. You don't have to hide He Qinggong's death. Just tell them that I killed him." Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. A betrayal is a betrayal. Turning over to the light. The Blood Dragon Blade snorted. "But you have indeed turned over to the light." Qin Feiyang said. "Don't make yourself sound like the embodiment of justice, okay?" The Blood Dragon Blade despised. Qin Feiyang smiled helplessly and looked at He Zhongtian and the Blood Dragon Blade. "Since we have time now, I'll take you to the Black Tortoise world." Black Tortoise world. When He Zhongtian heard this, he immediately looked forward to it. In fact, the battle between Qin Feiyang and the others had already alarmed the people of the Divine Palace. Because the Divine Palace was near the White Phoenix mountain range. At first, when they fought in the White Phoenix mountain range and razed it to the ground, the people of the Divine Palace had already felt the movement. But when the Divine Palace sent people to check, Qin Feiyang and the others had already entered the Star River. Coupled with the ancient castle seal, they couldn't feel the battle outside. Therefore, they thought that it might be a fierce beast or someone had hurriedly fought here. Therefore, they didn't do a detailed investigation. However, now, whether it was the Yun family or the Divine Palace, there was an undercurrent surging. Because when Yun Zhongtian returned to the Yun family, he immediately contacted Yun Zhongyue and several elders in the Divine Palace and asked them to immediately take the disciples of the Yun family in the Divine Palace and secretly evacuate. For this sudden change, Yun Zhongyue and several elders were a little caught off guard. But now, Yun Zhongtian didn't have time to explain and just let them do as they were told. At the same time, the White-Eyed Wolf took Yun Guanghui and Snowflake took the other experts of the Yun family to various places to secretly execute the more than 300 spies on the list. Because these people were scattered in various major cities. To get rid of them, without the help of the White-Eyed Wolf and Snowflake, it was really not an easy task to accomplish. In short, the people of the entire southern continent were unaware of the changes in the Yun family at this moment. Time flew by and night fell. Heavenly Cloud Sea, Sea Lion Island. At this moment, the sky above Sea Lion Island was already crowded with men and women, old and young. These were the people of the Yun family. There were people of the main bloodline and also people of the branch bloodline. But without exception, at this moment, everyone's face was full of doubts. But the most puzzled was the owner of this island, the sea lion. Why were there so many people coming today, one after another? What the hell were Qin Feiyang and Boss Wolf doing? Because these people were basically sent by the White-Eyed Wolf and Snowflake, the sea lion knew that Qin Feiyang and the White-Eyed Wolf had something to do with it. But time was too tight, and the White-Eyed Wolf didn't explain to him, so he lay alone on the island depressed. When night fell completely, a space-time transmission channel appeared in the sky again. At this moment, everyone looked at the transmission channel and saw the White-Eyed Wolf, Yun Zhongtian, Yun Guanghui, Snowflake, and a large group of unfamiliar faces, coming out of the transmission channel one after another. Chapter 3, Release at 10. Chapter 35:10. The disciples of the Yun family gathered above the island were not surprised to see the White-Eyed Wolf. Because when they were sent to the Sea Lion Island, many of them had seen the White-Eyed Wolf. But their hearts were filled with doubts. The Golden-Winged Wolf King was Qin Feiyang's companion, and Qin Feiyang had nothing to do with the Yun family. So why was the great ancestor with the Golden-Winged Wolf King now? And they seemed to be very familiar with each other. At the same time, Yun Zhongtian and Yun Guanghui looked at the people around them, and a smile appeared on their faces. Although they had worked hard for an entire day, they had finally moved all the people out. Now, they just had to wait for Qin Feiyang to appear and send everyone to the Black Tortoise world. For the Yun family, the catastrophe brought about by the dragons had not only not brought the Yun family to its end, but it had also brought about a new transformation. First, they had to enter the Black Tortoise world. For every member of the Yun family, a time formation array that lasted 1,000 years was a great fortune. Because in the Yun family, only the core members could enjoy the benefits of the time array, and it was only for 500 years. But after entering the Black Tortoise world, every member of the family, regardless of whether they were from the main branch or the branch, would be able to enjoy the benefits of the time array. In this way, the overall strength of the Yun family would definitely increase by several times in a short period of time. Next was the Sword of Death, the sovereign weapon. To Yun Zhongtian, being able to gain the right to control and support of this sovereign divine weapon was more valuable than anything else. Because this meant that from now on, the Yun family would truly have a sovereign weapon. It could be said that there was nothing more reassuring than having a sovereign weapon. As for the control of the temple, Yun Zhongtian was not too concerned about it now. Because as long as Qin Feiyang destroyed the dragons, the Yun family would naturally be the master of the temple, and even in the future, the Yun family would be the only master of the entire southern continent. Boss Wolf. Below. The sea lion waved its claws at the White-Eyed Wolf. The White-Eyed Wolf was slightly taken aback. He looked down and grinned at the sea lion, and then landed beside the sea lion. Boss Wolf, who are they? The sea lion was suspicious. Someone from the southern continent's Yun clan. The White-Eyed Wolf said. Southern continent, Yun family? Sea Lion's expression froze slightly. He was quite surprised and asked doubtfully, how did you get together with the Yun family? Does Boss Qin know about this? Of course I do. That's what he meant. You'll know later. The White-Eyed Wolf took out the divine sound transmission stone. Wang. A short while later, Qin Feiyang's figure appeared. Done. The White-Eyed Wolf said. All right. I'll be right there. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. The White-Eyed Wolf put away the transmission stone and asked the sea lion, did the little princess of the dragon send us any messages? No. The sea lion shook its head. Strange. The eldest prince of the dragons suffered such a big loss, and the other princes and princesses' bodies were also destroyed by us. Why didn't this little princess have any reaction at all? The White-Eyed Wolf muttered. Logically speaking, after learning of this news, shouldn't the little princess of the dragon send them a message immediately to ask for an explanation? Big brother, can you tell me now? What's going on? In the sky. A young woman in a silver dress with her long hair tied up walked in front of Yun Zhongtian and frowned. This woman looked to be about 27 or 28 years old. She was about 1.75 meters tall, with sparkling skin and picturesque features. Coupled with the silver dress on her body, she was as beautiful as a fairy. That's right. This person was Yun Zhongtian's younger sister, Yun Zhongyue. When the old and the young stood together, they didn't look like brother and sister at all. Instead, they looked like grandfather and grandson. However, a cultivator's age couldn't be determined by their appearance. For example, Qin Feiyang and the others were now considered old antiques, but they still maintained their youthful appearance. As Yun Zhongyue spoke, more than a dozen people surrounded her. These were basically the upper echelons of the Yun family. For example, Yun Guanghui's two younger brothers, Yun Guangyao and Yun Guangrong, as well as the elders of the family. It's a long story. Yun Zhongtian let out a long sigh and looked at Yun Zhongyue and the others with a smile. When Qin Feiyang comes and enters the Black Tortoise world and settles the family, I will tell you in private to avoid causing a disturbance. What? Go to the Black Tortoise world? Settle the family? Does this mean that we are going to move the family? Yun Zhongyue was surprised. That's right. Yun Zhongtian nodded. When Yun Zhongyue heard this, she immediately said angrily, "Big brother, such a big matter, why didn't you discuss it with us in advance? There's no time to discuss. If we don't leave, our Yun family will be annihilated." Yun Zhongtian transmitted his voice. Annihilation. Yun Xiang, Yun Guangrong, Yun Guangyao, and the elders of the family looked at each other. Was it that serious? Suddenly, Yun Zhongyue seemed to have thought of something. She lowered her head and looked at the white-eyed wolf. A cold light flashed in her eyes as she shouted, "Wolf cub, die!" In that instant, she charged towards the white-eyed wolf like a streak of light. The white-eyed wolf was stunned. Yun Zhongtian and Yun Guanghui were also stunned. When they came back to their senses, Yun Zhongtian immediately looked at Yun Zhongyue and shouted, what are you doing? Stop it. You may be afraid of them, but I'm not." Yun Zhongyue shouted coldly without turning her head. The law of light rolled out like a torrent, carrying a monstrous might as it rushed towards the white-eyed wolf. "Are you crazy?" The sea lion was shocked and immediately turned to flee. The white-eyed wolf raised its eyebrows and waved its paw in the void. The void within a radius of 10,000 miles immediately collapsed, turning into pieces of ice crystal fragments. The fragments condensed into a giant dragon that was 10,000 feet long, and it roared as it charged forward. This is the supreme profundity of the law of space. In the sky, the Yun family disciples exclaimed. Boom! In just an instant, the giant ice crystal dragon and the law of light collided with a loud bang, causing the surrounding sea to surge. However, the Sea Lion Island was not damaged at all. This was because the Sea Lion Island had been refined by the horsetail whisk. Unless a sovereign divine weapon descended, no one would be able to destroy it. Yun Zhongyue's pupils shrank. Her law of light was naturally inferior to the law of space. Moreover, she had not activated her law of light. The outcome was without a doubt. The white-eyed wolf's supreme profundity naturally crushed the law of light as easily as crushing dry weeds and smashing rotten wood. Even though its cultivation was still at the great perfection sovereign realm, its supreme profundity of ultimate laws was enough to rival a great perfection sovereign realm expert. However, if Yun Zhongyue also activated her supreme profundity. Although it was only the supreme profundity of an ordinary law, the white-eyed wolf would still be in a tough battle. After all, the difference in their cultivation was not one small realm, but two small realms. "Woman, what's wrong with you?" the white-eyed wolf said angrily. It was baffling that she would suddenly attack it. "Cut the crap!" Yun Zhongyue shouted angrily. The law of light surged and rushed into the sky like a torrent. A milky white full moon instantly appeared in the sky. This is the supreme profundity of the law of light, the divine moon of light. What are you doing? Stop it." Yun Zhongtian was shocked and shouted anxiously. Clang! It was also at this moment. Accompanied by a loud sound, an ancient door appeared in the sky. It was the gate of space and time. Qin Feiyang walked out of the gate of space and time. He was in a good mood, but when he saw the divine moon of light, he raised his eyebrows and looked down. What? Which reckless person dared to attack the white-eyed wolf? Soon. Qin Feiyang's gaze locked onto Yun Zhongyue. Murderous intent flashed in his eyes. With a wave of his hand, he put away the gate of space and time. Immediately after. With a wave of his hand, 10 golden lotuses appeared. Their divine power shook the surroundings. Like 10 dazzling suns, they blasted toward the divine moon of light. With a loud bang, the divine moon of light immediately dissipated. This was the difference between an ultimate law and an ordinary law. Even if their cultivation was one small realm lower, they could still fight. It's Qin Feiyang. The eyes of the Yun family members trembled. They finally saw this person in person. The cultivation of a perfected dominator and the ultimate law of cause and effect. It was indeed powerful. You really like to meddle in other people's business. However, the white-eyed wolf stared at Qin Feiyang with dissatisfaction. Qin Feiyang's face darkened. Can't you see that I'm helping you? You really don't know how to appreciate my kindness. The white-eyed wolf retracted his gaze and looked at Yun Zhongyue. He laughed and said, "If you want to die, I'll grant you your wish." Rumbling sounds could be heard as the power of time, space-time, and death exploded out like volcanoes. The void and the sky collapsed, and the surrounding sea was filled with raging waves. No way. It actually mastered the laws of time, space, and death at the same time. The hundreds of thousands of people in the Yun family were all staring with anger and disbelief. Yun Zhongyue was also shocked. However, she seemed to be a very strong woman. She didn't retreat because of this, and the law of light rolled out. What's going on? Yun Zhongtian frowned and hurriedly took a step forward. He landed in front of Yun Zhongyue and shouted, Are you crazy? They are our saviors. Saviors? Yun Zhongyue was slightly taken aback. She looked at the ingrate and Qin Feiyang in surprise and asked, Big brother, weren't they the ones who threatened you and made you lead our Yun family to submit to them? Threaten? Submit? Yun Zhongtian was stunned. Qin Feiyang, the white-eyed wolf, and Yun Guanghui were also stunned. Seeing this, Yun Zhongyue realized that something was wrong and asked softly, Brother, did I guess wrong? Nonsense. Of course you're wrong. Do you think that we moved to the Black Tortoise world because of Qin Feiyang's threat? No, I did it willingly. Moreover, Qin Feiyang's kind intentions are to let our Yun family have a safe place in the Black Tortoise world. Yun Zhongtian smiled helplessly. This sister of his was still as impulsive as ever. He really didn't know what to do. Hearing this, Yun Zhongyue's expression suddenly became awkward. Although she didn't know what was going on, it seemed that she had wronged Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf. Yun Zhongtian looked at the white-eyed wolf and smiled apologetically, I'm sorry, this is all a misunderstanding. I apologize to you on behalf of you, After saying that, he looked up at Qin Feiyang and said apologetically, Brother Qin, please don't mind her. This sister of mine has this kind of personality. She is reckless and impulsive, but she has no ill intentions. Chapter 35:11. Sister? Qin Feiyang was slightly taken aback. He landed in front of Yun Zhongtian and sized up the beautiful woman in front of him. After all this time, it turned out to be Yun Zhongtian's sister, Yun Zhongyue. Seeing this, Yun Zhongyue's expression became more and more awkward. She transmitted her voice, "Big brother, it's all your fault. You didn't make it clear. You're blaming me?" Yun Zhongtian was extremely speechless. It was clearly you who was impulsive and reckless. The white-eyed wolf raised his eyebrows and withdrew his power of law. He walked to Qin Feiyang's side and asked, "Have you arranged for He Zhongtian and the blood dragon blade?" "Yes." Qin Feiyang nodded. The white-eyed wolf looked at Yun Zhongyue and snorted coldly, "Next time, be careful. Don't act like a crazy woman." "Who are you calling a crazy woman?" When Yun Zhongyue heard this, she immediately glared at the white-eyed wolf. This matter was indeed her fault. She didn't make it clear in advance, but he couldn't attack her personally. You know who's who. It's also because of your big brother's face. Otherwise, watch how I cripple you. The white-eyed wolf's face was full of disdain. So what if she was a peak dominator? So what if she had mastered the supreme profundity of the light law? If she provoked him, he would still beat her up. But all the clansmen of the Yun family were dumbfounded. A peak dominator dared to threaten to cripple a peak dominator. His tone was really arrogant. In the entire Sky Cloud realm, probably only the golden-winged Wolf King dared to say such a thing. Yun Zhongyue expressed her dissatisfaction, but after being glared at by Yun Zhongtian, she obediently lowered her head. After all, this matter was her fault. If it didn't end, it would appear that she was an unreasonable woman. It's all a misunderstanding. Don't take it to heart. Yun Zhongtian smiled apologetically at the white-eyed wolf. Then, he looked at Qin Feiyang and asked, "Brother Qin, almost all the clansmen of the Yun family are here. When do you think we should go to the Black Tortoise realm now?" Qin Feiyang smiled slightly. "Okay, thank you." Yun Zhongtian was very grateful. But suddenly, he looked down at the Sea Lion Island with a trace of surprise in his eyes. "How can this island be intact?" he asked in surprise. Qin Feiyang lowered his head and looked at the island. He explained, "This island is called Sea Lion Island. The sea lion that lives on this island is my friend. Don't underestimate this island. Not only has it been refined by a sovereign divine weapon, it also has a time formation that lasts 500 years in a day. The sovereign's weapon has been tempered." Yun Zhongtian was startled as he asked, "Then this is your masterpiece?" "Yes." Qin Feiyang nodded. "Boss Qin." At this moment, the sea lion ran over and grinned at Qin Feiyang. "Where did you go?" Qin Feiyang asked with a smile. The sea lion glanced at Yun Zhongyue and snorted coldly, "I saw that crazy woman suddenly attack Boss Wolf. With my cultivation level, I can't help much, so I ran away to avoid being a burden to Boss Wolf." "You're calling me crazy again?" Yun Zhongyue raised her eyebrows and immediately glared at the sea lion. The sea lion shrunk his neck and hurriedly hid behind white-eyed wolf. He looked at Yun Zhongyue provocatively, as if to say, "I have big brother to protect me. You'd better behave." This funny scene made Yun Zhongyue want to laugh. It was really like the old saying, "Birds of a feather flock together." Qin Feiyang shook his head and smiled. He looked at the sea lion and said apologetically, "I'm sorry to disturb your meditation. Look at what you're saying. We're friends. Besides, you can use Sea Lion Island as your base. That's because you trust me." The sea lion waved his paws. "Thank you." Qin Feiyang patted the sea lion on the shoulder and asked, did the little princess of the dragons send a message? Boss Wolf asked just now. No. The sea lion shook his head. This woman can really sit still. Qin Feiyang chuckled, looked at Yun Zhongtian, and said, "All right, I'll send you to the central region first and settle your clansmen." "All right." Yun Zhongtian nodded. Qin Feiyang waved his hand, and an invisible force emerged and enveloped the entire place. The people of the Yun family immediately disappeared without a trace. Immediately after, Qin Feiyang looked at the sea lion and said with a smile, "Give me the divine sound transmission stone." The sea lion took out the divine sound transmission stone and handed it to Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang grabbed the divine sound transmission stone, pondered for a moment, and then sent a message to the little princess of the dragons. A moment passed. The shadow of the little princess of the dragons finally appeared. Qin Feiyang smiled and said, "What have you been busy with these days?" "No matter how busy I am, I can't be as busy as you." The little princess of the dragons pouted. She had already heard about the situation of the first prince of the dragons and the other princes and princesses. This person's speed was really fast. "Huh," Qin Feiyang laughed, his eyes suddenly flashed with a cold light, and said, "Don't tell me you don't know about your big brother situation." "I really don't know. I only found out later that he and his followers had left their souls in the dragon's nest." The little princess of the dragons shook her head regretfully. If not for this accident, this big brother would have already died in the hands of Qin Feiyang, and it could be considered as resolving the hatred in his heart. Unfortunately, he was just one step away. "Are you sure you're not lying to me?" Qin Feiyang frowned. "Since we're cooperating, can't we trust each other more? What good would it do me to lie to you? You, on the other hand. Before making a move against my big brother, you didn't even inform me. I really don't understand. Is there a need for you to be so guarded against me?" The little princess of the dragon's face was full of displeasure. She originally thought that before Qin Feiyang made a move against the first prince, he would definitely inform her in advance. But she never expected that the hunt would be carried out without anyone knowing. By the time she received the news, the hunt was already over. This clearly showed that he did not trust her and was guarding against her. Qin Feiyang said with a faint smile, "You're a precious person. There's no need to alarm you over such a small matter. Don't make it sound so dignified. I won't fall for it." The little princess of the dragons snorted and said indifferently, "Speak, this hunt failed. What's the next plan? What other plan can there be? Hide and cultivate." Qin Feiyang shrugged. "I'm not joking with you." The little princess of the dragons frowned. "I'm not joking with you either. Now that your big brother is in the dragon's nest, and the other princesses and princes are also gathered together, hiding in the southern continent to recuperate. What can I do? I can't just kill my way to the southern continent or the dragon's nest." Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. The little princess of the dragons teased, "This doesn't seem to be your personality. Don't say it like you know me very well. The two of us are actually not close." Qin Feiyang said indifferently, and then said, "By the way, you should also know about the battle between your big brother and me." "Yes." The little princess of the dragons nodded. "Then how is he preparing now?" Qin Feiyang asked. "It said that he's still rebuilding his divine soul and body. But I believe that with his personality, he will definitely be fully prepared before the battle. Don't underestimate him. After all, he has the entire Golden Dragon clan behind him." The little princess of the dragons nodded. "I've never underestimated him. However, this battle, no matter how he prepares, the final winner will be me." Qin Feiyang's eyes were filled with a firm belief. The princes and princesses of the dragons could fail because they had a backer, but he couldn't. Once he failed, there would be no hope for him. Blind confidence is not necessarily a good thing. The little princess of the dragons said indifferently. Qin Feiyang said, "There's no need for you to remind me. You just need to tell me about your big brother's situation anytime and anywhere." Okay. At present, I have indeed received a piece of news. The patriarch of the Golden Dragon clan is preparing to let him receive the supreme inheritance. The little princess of the dragons said. Supreme inheritance? Qin Feiyang was stunned. That's right. In our dragon clan, every clan has its own supreme inheritance. The so-called supreme inheritance is the inheritance of the strongest law that contains the supreme ultimacy. However, it's not easy to inherit such a supreme inheritance. The first prerequisite is that you must be the successor of the next patriarch. Furthermore, you must possess the cultivation of a perfect sovereign. Although my big brother's cultivation has already reached that level, he was not confirmed as the successor of the next patriarch of the Golden Dragon clan. The little princess of the dragons explained. Hearing this, Qin Feiyang laughed. You dragons, princesses and princes are really enviable. You were born with such a good inheritance. Born? The little princess of the dragons laughed self-deprecatingly and said, the competition and cruelty of us dragons is not something you can imagine. Today, you may be a majestic prince or princess, but tomorrow, you may be reduced to an ant. This kind of thing is not only limited to you dragons, isn't it the same outside? According to what you said, your big brother has already been appointed as the successor of the Golden Dragon clan? Qin Feiyang asked. The little princess of the dragons said, this is all thanks to you. All thanks to me? Qin Feiyang was slightly stunned and asked suspiciously, what do you mean? When the news of my big brother's battle with you spread to the dragon nest, the patriarch of the Golden Dragon clan immediately gathered the elders to discuss this matter. In the end, the conclusion was that we must not let the dragons be humiliated. In other words, my big brother must win this battle with you. But considering your strength, the chances of my big brother winning against you seemed a bit slim, so they decided to let my big brother receive the supreme inheritance. Naturally, he also became the successor of the Golden Dragon clan. Say, if this is not your credit, then whose credit is it? The little princess of the dragons laughed. So that's how it is. Qin Feiyang suddenly understood. The little princess of the dragons frowned and said, to tell you the truth, I am now suspicious. Did my big brother deliberately arrange a battle with you? Deliberately? Qin Feiyang was stunned. He calculated everything in advance. He knew that he would lose to you, so he challenged you to a duel. Using this method, he exerted pressure on the upper echelons of the clan and smoothly obtained the supreme inheritance, ascending to the throne of the successor. The little princess of the dragons nodded. It can't be. Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf looked at each other. The unbroken sea lion island. Yunzifeng. The old ancestor of the He clan, Blood Dragon Blade. Chapter 35:12. He won't? You guys don't understand my big brother at all. He thirsts for power more than anyone else, and he's a very ambitious person. As far as I know, he has already mentioned to the patriarch of the Golden Dragon clan, hoping to make him the successor as soon as possible, but the patriarch of the Golden Dragon clan never agreed. Therefore, this battle may be a part of his plan. The little princess of the dragons said. Qin Feiyang pondered for a while and smiled. If that's the case, then I really underestimated him before. That's why I told you to be careful. To tell you the truth, my big brother isn't as simple as he looks on the surface. He's a very shrewd person. The little princess of the dragon seemed to have thought of something painful, and a cold murderous intent flashed in her eyes. Okay. I will pay attention in the future. But I heard that there are also many law inheritances in the inner area of the Yin Demon Land. But why didn't I see you guys looking for these law inheritances? Qin Feiyang was suspicious. The inheritance in the inner area is regulated. You have to rely on your own ability to break the protective barrier of the land of inheritance. You've stayed in the inner region before. Furthermore, you've obtained an inheritance. Thus, you should know how powerful the defensive spirit formations of the inheritance grounds are. And that's not all. Every member of the dragons only has one chance to enter the inner area to choose an inheritance in their lifetime. In other words, regardless of whether you choose the inheritance of an strongest law or an ordinary law, you will not have a second chance to choose. And this rule was personally issued by Lord Dragon King, so even the patriarchs of the various clans don't dare to violate it. The little princess of the dragons explained. Is that so? Qin Feiyang nodded in realization and asked, then what if you guys go to look for an inheritance in private? This is against the clan's rules, and you will be severely punished. The little princess of the dragons said. No wonder he's so cautious. Qin Feiyang muttered. What do you mean? The little princess of the dragons looked at Qin Feiyang suspiciously. Since it's a cooperative relationship, I naturally won't hide things that are beneficial to you. The prince of your white dragon clan, when he was in the outer area of the Een demon land, was ready to accept the supreme inheritance of the law of destruction. Qin Feiyang smiled slightly. Really? The little princess of the dragons was surprised. This is what we saw with our own eyes. Also, I snatched the inheritance of the law inheritance from under his nose. Qin Feiyang smiled. Heat estes. Est, teet. Qin Feiyang shook his head. At that time, he didn't know that the dragon clan had such a rule. Teet. But he didn't expect the rules of the dragons to be so strict. What's more, he didn't expect the survival and competition of the dragons to be so cruel. Even if it's just a small matter, it can lead to a fatal disaster. Hearing this, the little princess of the dragons smiled bitterly. There's no evidence, and the inheritance was stolen by you. Even if I tell Lord Dragon King, it's useless. All right. Qin Feiyang shook his head and smiled. If there's another chance in the future, I'll be careful. Okay. I suddenly realized that you're quite cute. If only you were one of my dragons. The little princess of the dragons giggled. Cute? Qin Feiyang was slightly stunned, shook his head and smiled. Speaking of which, I'm indeed a member of the dragons. After all, I have the power of the purple gold dragon blood. But you're still a human. The little princess of the dragons said. All right. It's my fault. Qin Feiyang smiled helplessly. Suddenly, a question crawled up in his mind. He looked at the little princess of the dragons and asked, Can you answer my question? The little princess of the dragons said, As long as it's not about the dragons, I can consider it. Qin Feiyang asked, Why do you dragons hate people with purple gold dragon blood so much? The dragons of the ancient realm were greedy for their purple gold dragon blood and wanted to deprive them of their bloodline power to make his son. That's why they attacked him and his ancestors. But the dragons of the sky cloud realm were different. The dragons here had never said that they wanted to rob them of their bloodline power. They just hated them. Therefore, the dragons of the ancient realm and the sky cloud realm had different goals and intentions. The little princess of the dragons was silent for a while and sighed. It's not that I hate you, someone with purple gold dragon blood, but I hate the purple gold divine dragon. Hate the purple gold divine dragon? What do you mean? Could it be that the purple gold divine dragon really exists in this world? Qin Feiyang was surprised. Of course. Otherwise, where did your purple gold dragon blood come from? However, this secret is a secret of us dragons. I can't tell you. If you really want to know, you can try to defeat Lord Dragon King. Because only Lord Dragon King knows about this matter the best. As for us, even the patriarchs of the various clans only know a little about the situation. the little princess of the dragons said. Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf looked at each other, their eyes full of surprise. It was actually related to the Dragon King? Most importantly, the Dragon King was the only one who knew the truth of this matter. This was something worth pondering. What kind of secret was hidden in this? The little princess of the dragons suddenly asked, I heard that you are going to the other 3 forbidden areas? Qin Feiyang was stunned for a moment, then shook his head and said with a smile, No, who did you hear it from? It's purely unfounded. If you say no, then there must be. Don't worry, I won't stop you from going to the other 3 forbidden areas. Because even if you enter the 3 forbidden areas and find the people of the 3 forbidden areas, it may not be a good thing for you. The little princess of the dragons giggled. What do you mean? Qin Feiyang frowned. Nothing, I just want to tell you that instead of asking others for help, it's better to work hard on your own. That's all I have to say, do as you see fit. After the little princess of the dragons finished speaking, her shadow quickly dissipated. The white-eyed wolf retracted his gaze, looked at Qin Feiyang and asked, This little girl, is she hinting at something? How would I know? Qin Feiyang smiled bitterly. The last few words of the little princess of the dragons were a bit inexplicable. The sea lion pondered for a while, then looked at Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf, and said, 2 bosses, I personally think that we can't believe everything she said, but we can't not believe it either. Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf looked at the sea lion. Think about it. No matter what, she's the little princess of the dragons after all, she must know the situation of the 3 forbidden areas better than us. It's possible that she's just scaring us, but it's also possible that she's hinting at us. In short, when facing the 3 forbidden areas, it's never wrong to be careful. The sea lion said. Makes sense. Qin Feiyang nodded and said with a smile, Thank you. The sea lion wasn't happy. If you say, thank you, again, I'm going to fall out with you. You helped me set up a time formation and even helped me refine Sea Lion Island. I definitely won't forget this favor. Good, good, good. Qin Feiyang nodded again and again. Look, this is what a berserk beast is like. Although there are good and bad berserk beasts, as long as they can become friends, they will be loyal. Also, that crown prince of the dragons, if what the little princess said is true and this is all part of his plan, then he's just using you guys. This debt must be settled with him. The sea lion snorted coldly. Of course. The white-eyed wolf sneered. All right. Anyway, with my little strength, I can't help you guys much. However, Sea Lion Island will always be your base. If you can't stay outside, then come here to retire. The sea lion bared its teeth. No, look at my memory, I forgot again. Sorry. All right. The word, thank you, no one should say it again in the future. Just remember it in your hearts. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. That's right. The sea lion nodded in satisfaction. Then, you continue to keep it safe for me. Qin Feiyang gave the sea lion a few words of advice before entering the black tortoise world with the white-eyed wolf. Southern Continent. 7-Star City. 2 figures flashed toward the back mountain of the He family. It was He Zhongtian and Blood Dragon Blade. He Zhongtian was still in his divine soul form. Although he went to the black tortoise world, it was less than a day. According to the time in the black tortoise world, it was only a few hundred years, so it was impossible for him to reconstruct his body so quickly. He looked at the blood dragon blade. When he separated from Qin Feiyang, he was still in good condition. Now that he had returned to the He family, not only was he covered in scars, but he was also broken into several pieces. He Zhongtian looked at the blood dragon blade and the corner of his mouth twitched. He said in admiration, "You're quite ruthless to yourself." That's right. The current state of the blood dragon blade was caused by himself. If I wasn't ruthless, how could the words we discussed in advance be acceptable? Dragons, you're not as stupid as you think. The blood dragon blade snorted. Yes, yes, yes. He Zhongtian nodded and entered the sky above the back mountain, heading straight for the courtyard below. He began to cry from afar, "Lords, please help me." The prince, princess, and their followers who were reconstructing their bodies in the courtyard frowned slightly when they heard He Zhongtian's voice. Then they got up one after another and flew out of the courtyard. They stood in the sky and looked at He Zhongtian and the blood dragon blade. Why were they in such a sorry state? He Zhongtian landed in front of a group of people and immediately fell to the ground. He cried, "Lords, I'm sorry. Not only did I almost kill myself, but I also implicated the blood dragon blade." What happened? The prince of the blood dragon clan looked at the blood dragon blade and asked. Sigh. It's a trap. The blood dragon blade sighed. A trap? The blood dragon prince raised his eyebrows. Yes. The Yun family has been colluding with Qin Feiyang for a long time. This time, the Yun family led us there to snatch the key in He Zhongtian's hands and obtain control of the divine weapon of the sacred hall. The blood dragon blade said. Chapter 35-13. They colluded with Qin Feiyang. Everyone's eyes darkened. The Yun family really didn't know what was good for them. He Qinggang, the head of the He family, died in battle and my body was destroyed. If it weren't for the blood dragon blade, we would have been killed by them. My lords, you must uphold justice for me. I want to exterminate the Yun family, kill Qin Feiyang, and make them pay with their blood. He Zhongtian roared with red eyes. Damn Qin Feiyang. He's really haunting us. The blood dragon prince clenched his hands and looked at the blood dragon blade. Since you fought, why didn't we feel any battle fluctuations? The castle blocked the Star River. The blood dragon blade said. What about Qin Feiyang? He has 2 Dominator divine weapons and the slaughter domain. How could he let you escape? The blood dragon prince frowned. Qin Feiyang didn't show up. The blood dragon blade said. He didn't show up. The blood dragon prince was stunned. Yes. At first, we couldn't figure it out. Later, when we escaped, we found out that Qin Feiyang was helping to move the Yun family members. The blood dragon blade said. Moving the Yun family members? The group of people looked at each other. That's right. Qin Feiyang must have thought that when we found out that the Yun family was colluding with him, we would definitely attack the Yun family, so he moved the Yun family members in advance. Before returning to the He family, we had already investigated. Whether it was the Yun family's ancestral land or other places, we couldn't find a single member of the Yun family. The blood dragon blade sighed. Bastard! The blood dragon prince was furious. He looked at the other princes and princesses and roared, if we had known this, we would have sent a few more Dominator divine weapons. What's the point of saying this now? Besides, who would have thought that the Yun family would collude with Qin Feiyang? A woman in green sighed. She looked at the old ancestor of the He clan and said with a smile, but this is also good. Right now, the southern continent belongs to your He clan. If you work hard for us in the future, your He clan will definitely benefit. Yes. The old ancestor of the He clan nodded respectfully, but he still looked a little disappointed. The lady in green frowned and said, What do you mean by that expression? You don't trust us? No, no, no. I have never doubted your abilities. I was just thinking that the divine ruler's weapon of the divine temple had already been taken away by Yun Zhongtian, and even if our He family were to unify the divine temple and the southern continent, we would not be able to make up for that loss. He Zhongtian said with a disappointed expression. Don't worry, we're still here. Hurry up and heal yourself. We'll deal with him after we've reconstructed our bodies. The green-robed woman waved her hand. All right. Then my He clan will rely on you in the future. He Zhongtian bowed, then got up and left. The Blood Dragon Prince and the others looked at each other and returned to their own courtyards to continue reconstructing their divine souls and bodies. However, the hearts of their followers grew heavier. They had been schemed against by Qin Feiyang again. Was this kid really someone they could deal with? They did not doubt He Zhongtian's words at all. If it was just He Zhongtian, they would definitely investigate it personally. However, if even the Blood Dragon Blade said so, then it must be true. Because, although they did not trust He Zhongtian, the Blood Dragon Blade was definitely not a problem. The Black Tortoise World. Although only a short while had passed in the outside world, decades had passed in the Black Tortoise World. In these decades, the Yun clan had not only settled down in the Middle State, but they had also slowly gotten used to life in the Black Tortoise World. The Devil's Land, Tea Garden. Qin Feiyang sat by the tea table and drank tea. The white-eyed wolf pulled Yun Zifeng and placed a wine jar in front of each of them. They went back and forth, constantly clinking cups. Qin Feiyang glanced at Yun Zifeng with an extremely strange expression. Your clan has been in the Black Tortoise World for decades, but you stay in the Devil's Land all day long. It seems like you're relying on me. Qin Dage, don't say that. It's only been a few decades. For cultivators like us, not to mention a few decades, a few thousand years, or even tens of thousands of years, it's all in the blink of an eye. Let's talk about it later. I just want to stay by your side and learn from you. Yun Zifeng chuckled. After getting along with each other, he was no longer as nervous as before when facing Qin Feiyang. Learn? The corner of Qin Feiyang's mouth twitched, and his face darkened. I think you're just pretending to learn. You're really thinking about the Black Tortoise Divine Brew and the Unparalleled Divine Brew. I say, you're so young, why don't you learn something better? You're always following the white-eyed wolf around. Little Qin Zi, what do you mean by that? Following this big brother means following him around? Do you want me to be like you, holding a teacup and drinking tea every day? Look at you now, what's the difference between you and an old man like Yun Zhongtian? You're not interesting at all. The white-eyed wolf's face was full of disdain, then he looked at Yun Zifeng and asked, Kid, do you think Big Brother is right? Yes, 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 you must be right. Yun Zifeng nodded. The white-eyed wolf laughed heartily, Kid, you have good taste. Following this Big Brother, I guarantee you'll live a good life. Come, cheers. Okay, Big Brother, cheers. Yun Zifeng held the wine cup in his hand, a fawning smile on his face. Qin Feiyang looked at the sky, speechless. Yun Zifeng's character were good, and he also valued friendship. Unfortunately, he was still too young to withstand the white-eyed wolf's teasing. Whoosh! Suddenly, accompanied by the sound of something breaking through the air, 3 figures rushed into the Devil's Land like lightning. Qin Feiyang looked up, and a smile appeared on his face. The people who came were Yun Zhongtian, Yun Zhongyue, and Yun Guanghui. Yun Zhongtian and Yun Guanghui were already very familiar with the Devil's Land, but Yun Zhongyue had been in the Black Tortoise boundary for a long time, and this was the first time he had entered the Devil's Land. Looking at the medicinal herbs all over the mountains, and the scene of clouds and mist, he couldn't help but mutter in his heart. What kind of Devil's Land was this? It was simply a paradise. Brother Qin. Yun Zhongtian cupped his hands and greeted Qin Feiyang from afar. Qin Feiyang got up, a smile on his face, and welcomed the arrival of the 3 people. Not good, my father is here. If he sees me drunk like this again, he will definitely teach me a lesson. At the same time, Yun Zifeng's face changed, and he hurriedly pushed the wine jar and wine cup in front of the white-eyed wolf. What are you afraid of? Big Brother will protect you. The white-eyed wolf said. Really? Yun Zifeng asked. The white-eyed wolf said, Of course, now you are my little brother. If he dares to teach you a lesson, I will teach him a lesson. Then forget about it. Father is father after all. How can I do such a disgraceful thing? Yun Zifeng hurriedly waved his hand, and then took back the wine jar and wine cup, and said with a smile, But I still have to thank Big Brother. Here's a toast to you. You have a future. The white-eyed wolf nodded in satisfaction. When Yun Guanghui landed in the tea garden and saw this scene, his face couldn't help but darken. He then looked at Qin Feiyang and said with a smile, Did I disturb you? No. Qin Feiyang waved his hand and smiled, looking at the three people and said, Please sit. The three of them sat beside Qin Feiyang. Yun Zhongyue looked at the tea trees around them, his eyes filled with surprise. This little guy actually planted such a large area of tea trees? Have some tea. Qin Feiyang poured 3 cups of tea and pushed them in front of the three people. Thank you. Yun Zhongtian smiled, picked up the teacup, and smelled it. He looked up at Qin Feiyang and said with a smile, Brother Qin, the more I drink your tea, the more I like it. If old senior likes it, you can pick some back later. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. Really? Yun Zhongtian's eyes lit up, very tempted. How can I fool you? Qin Feiyang shook his head and laughed. Yun Zhongtian laughed and took a sip of tea. He turned to look at Yun Zifeng and frowned, Brother Qin, has this kid always been like this? What else? I was just teaching him a lesson, but it seems to be useless. Qin Feiyang smiled helplessly. When Yun Guanghui heard this, he couldn't hold it in anymore. He looked at Yun Zifeng and said angrily, Yun Zifeng, don't go too far. I'm not controlling you now, but that doesn't mean you have the right to indulge. Yun Zifeng was slightly stunned, looking at Yun Guanghui and the other two, asking, Father, old ancestor, sister you, when did you come? Sister you? When Qin Feiyang heard this address, he was a little confused. The same was true for the white-eyed wolf. This Yun Zhongyue was Yun Zhongtian's younger sister. According to seniority, she was also an ancestor, so how could he call her sister? At the same time, Yun Guanghui and the other two were also stunned. What the hell? He didn't even know when they came. This unfilial son, just as the three of them were about to explode, Yun Zifeng quickly waved his hand and said, just joking, don't take it seriously. When the three of them heard this, they couldn't help but feel angry. Yun Zifeng smiled embarrassedly, then looked at Yun Guanghui and said, Father, don't be fierce to me. If you want to be fierce, then be fierce to Brother Wolf. It was Brother Wolf who kept dragging me to drink. In fact, I didn't want to drink either. He said he didn't want to drink, but as soon as he finished speaking, he drank a cup. His face was full of intoxication and enjoyment, as if he didn't want to drink. Seeing this, Yun Guanghui's face was dark, and his veins were bulging. He obviously wanted to drink, but he blamed the golden-winged wolf king. The worst thing was, he actually used the golden-winged wolf king to pressure him. Yun Zifeng ran to Yun Zhongyue with a wine cup and said fawningly, Sister you, try it, this is a real divine brew. Divine brew? Yun Zhongyue's eyes lit up, and she quickly sniffed it. Her face was also full of intoxication. Oh no! Yun Zhongtian and Yun Guanghui both knew something was wrong. As expected, a scene that made Qin Feiyang dumbfounded appeared. Yun Zhongyue immediately put down the teacup in her hand, got up and followed Yun Zifeng to sit beside the white-eyed wolf. Yo, you're a woman, and you like to drink? The white-eyed wolf cried out. Who said that women can't drink? Yun Zhongyue snorted coldly, took the wine jar next to her, and gulped it down. An expert. The white-eyed wolf's eyes widened. Of course, sister you, she's a hero among women. Yun Zifeng said proudly, then leaned over to the white-eyed wolf's ear and whispered, "Brother, to tell you the truth, sister, you taught me how to drink. Then you've met a kindred spirit?" The white-eyed wolf was taken aback, and quickly took out a few jars of unparalleled divine brew. He bared his teeth and said, "Little you, don't stand on ceremony. Brother has plenty of divine brew. Let's get drunk today." Seeing such divine brew, Yun Zhongyue's eyes lit up. She laughed heartily and said, "Sure, let's get drunk." After saying that, she hooked her arm around Yun Zifeng's neck, as if they were brothers, and said, "Brother Feng, you come too." But father, Yun Zifeng was a little embarrassed. "Him? Don't worry about him. If he dares to scold you, sister, you will teach him a lesson." Yun Zhongyue waved her hand heroically. "All right." Yun Zifeng nodded, and seemed a little reluctant. He then looked at Yun Zhongtian and Yun Guanghui with a wronged expression, as if to say, "You saw it too, I really didn't want to drink." Chapter 35:14. Yun Zhongtian and Yun Guanghui's faces darkened at the sight before them. It was one thing for a junior to behave like this, but now even an ancestor-level elder was behaving like this. Where was the decency? Wasn't this an embarrassment to the Yun family? "Great ancestor, aren't you going to discipline your younger sister? She's not behaving like an elder, having no manners at all." If anyone were to see this, wouldn't they laugh their heads off? Yun Guanghui had nowhere to vent his anger and could not help but complain to Yun Zhongtian. Yun Zhongtian smiled bitterly. How could he discipline her? This younger sister of his had never been disciplined by him since she was young. Moreover, now the golden-winged wolf king was drinking heartily, and if he were to reprimand him now and ruin the atmosphere, angering the golden-winged wolf king, it would not be good. So, there was really nothing he could do. Xiang does not return home all year round, and I only have this one son by my side now. I don't want him to go to waste like this. Yun Guanghui sighed inwardly. Don't worry, he won't. Although the golden-winged wolf king loves to drink, but whether it is in terms of ability or other aspects, he is outstanding. Your son will only benefit from following him. Moreover, they have not reached the point where they are addicted to alcohol. Yun Zhongtian thought to himself. I hope so. Yun Guanghui sighed. Yun Zhongtian looked at Qin Feiyang and said apologetically, Brother Qin, I'm sorry to have made a fool of myself. It's all right. Qin Feiyang waved his hand and smiled, asking curiously, why would Yun Zifeng address Yun Zhongyue as big sister? For Yun Zhongyue to address him as little brother, isn't that messing up the hierarchy? Yun Zhongtian laughed bitterly and explained, this younger sister of mine does not like others calling her old, so the children in the family all call her big sister. If you were to call her great ancestor, she would be unhappy instead. I see. Qin Feiyang shook his head and laughed. Speaking of this, he could not help but think of Qin Rushuang. Qin Rushuang's situation was similar to Yun Zhongyue's. Originally, according to seniority, they were both at least at the level of great-grandmother, with a difference of several generations. However, when she interacted with people like the Mermaid Princess and Luo Qingzhu, she had to address her as big sister. She herself did not mind, so what could others do? He could only say that her heart was as she wished. Yun Zhongtian sipped a mouthful of tea and said with a smile, Brother Qin, the reason we've come here this time is mainly to thank you. Because all this while, we have not been able to properly thank you. No need. We're all business partners. It's only right that we help each other. Qin Feiyang smiled. Yun Zhongtian said guiltily, but up till now, it has always been you who has been helping us while the help we have given you has been practically nil. The future is long. According to business people, I'm investing first. Qin Feiyang chuckled. Looking at the young man before his eyes, Yun Zhongtian was suddenly filled with a myriad of emotions. For the sake of the Yun family, Qin Feiyang had truly put in a lot of effort. Therefore, no matter what, the Yun family would never forget this kindness. Whoosh! At this moment, accompanied by the sound of the air shattering, Pei Dason shot through the air like a bolt of lightning, landing beside Qin Feiyang. Glancing at Yun Zhongtian and the others, he bowed and said, "Greetings to the young lord." The Yun family had already moved to the Black Tortoise world for several decades and Pei Dason naturally knew about it. Towards Yun Zhongtian and the others, Pei Dason was no stranger. After all, as Pei Tianhong's son, he naturally had some understanding of the main characters of the major forces. Qin Feiyang nodded and smiled, "I don't need to introduce myself." No need, no need. Pei Dason waved his hand. Yun Guanghui also smiled, "Brother Pei and I can be considered old friends." Pei Dason nodded with a smile and leaned over to Qin Feiyang's ear, whispering a few words. What? When Qin Feiyang heard this, he glanced at Yun Zhongtian and Yun Guanghui, his brows raised slightly before looking at Pei Dason, asking, "Are you sure?" "I'm sure. Right now, they are in a city in the eastern domain called Thousand Mountain City. Hongyu and I have tried to persuade them, but they did not take it seriously, so I could only come back to report to you. As for Hongyu, she is now in Thousand Mountain City keeping an eye on them to prevent any deaths." Pei Dason nodded. "Deaths?" Yun Zhongtian and Yun Guanghui were taken aback and asked suspiciously, "What's so serious?" Pei Dason ignored the two and looked at Qin Feiyang, asking, "Young master, how do you think this matter should be dealt with?" Qin Feiyang closed his eyes and released his perception. After a while, he opened his eyes and with a wave of his hand, an image immediately appeared in the void in front of him. The image showed the streets of a city. There were no less than hundreds of people gathered on the streets at this moment. These people were all citizens of Thousand Mountain City, but at this moment, they were all looking at the two young men standing in the middle of the crowd with righteous indignation. The two young men were about 20 years old, with tall and straight figures and extraordinary looks, but the arrogance between their brows was undisguised. Between the two young men, there was a woman in white. This woman was Pei Hongyu. At this moment, Pei Hongyu looked at the two young men with an extremely ugly expression. Behind Pei Hongyu, there was a 17 or 18-year-old girl, dressed very ordinarily, but she looked very sweet, but at this moment, there was a striking palm print on her face. Yun Zhongtian and Yun Zhongfeng immediately stood up and looked at the two young men, their faces full of surprise. "Isn't this Yun Zishan and Yun Zimo?" Yun Zifeng looked up and a trace of surprise appeared on his face. "What's going on?" Hearing this, Yun Zhongyue looked up at the situation in the image with a suspicious look in her eyes. Qin Feiyang didn't say anything as he quietly looked at the screen. In the image, not only could everyone be seen clearly, but even their voices could be heard. "Who the hell are you? How dare you bully men and women in broad daylight? If you don't explain yourself today, don't even think about leaving Thousand Mountain City." The surrounding citizens surrounded the two young men so tightly that not even a drop of water could trickle through. Their eyes were filled with rage. Bully men and women. When Yun Zhongtian heard this, he was immediately shocked. These two unfilial sons. Yun Guanghui roared and turned to look at Qin Feiyang, saying, "Brother Qin, don't be angry, I'll go and bring them back now and discipline them well. There's no hurry." Qin Feiyang waved his hand, his eyes fixed on the image. Yun Guanghui looked at Yun Zhongtian for help. Yun Zhongtian was also very anxious, but he did not dare to act rashly. In the image, facing the angry citizens around them, the two young men did not realize the slightest mistake. Instead, their eyes were full of contempt as they looked around and said, "What bully? Don't talk nonsense, we just said a few words to her." "Say a few words? The moment you came, you asked the young lady if she wanted to go to the restaurant to have fun. Your words were frivolous and unbearable. She didn't want to, but you forced her. She resisted, but you hit her. Look at the young lady's swollen face. Do you think we're all fools? If this isn't bullying, then what is? The surrounding citizens were getting angrier. Even so, the two young men did not have the slightest attitude of admitting their mistake. They were arrogant and domineering. Everyone, please calm down. I will definitely give you a satisfactory explanation for this matter. Pei Hongyu glanced at the two young men, then looked at the surrounding citizens and smiled apologetically. Miss Hongyu, we believe you, but you have seen the attitude of these two people. Do they look like people who have done something wrong? Whether it was the former Miss Fire Lotus, or the later Pai Lupi and Theta Wang, the two lords have always warned everyone that in the Black Tortoise world, whether it's humans or beasts, we must cherish peace and have manners. It is also because of everyone's efforts that the Black Tortoise world is so peaceful today. All these years, not to mention our Qianshan city, even in the entire eastern region, even in the entire Black Tortoise world, there has never been a case of a woman being molested in the streets. That's right. They don't even have the most basic morals, they are simply scum. Today, they must kneel and apologize to the young lady. The citizens roared angrily. I know. Pei Hongyu nodded and looked at the two young men, saying in a deep voice, you are the disciples of the Yun family and are indeed born to be superior, but don't forget that you are now in the Black Tortoise world. This is not a place where you can behave atrociously. If you know what's good for you, quickly kneel and apologize. Otherwise, when the young lord comes, not even Yun Zhongtian can save you. A joke? You want us to kneel and apologize to these trash? Who do they think they are? And you, Pei Hongyu? What right do you have to order us? Your blood hall, your Pei family, are now Qin Feiyang's prisoners. To put it bluntly, you are Qin Feiyang servants, but my Yun family and Qin Feiyang are partners. Our status in the Black Tortoise world and your Pei family are on two completely different levels. So what if Qin Feiyang comes personally? My Yun family is powerful and now we have a sovereign divine weapon in our hands. Even Qin Feiyang has to rely on my Yun family, how dare he touch us? Their eyes were full of disdain. Bastard! How dare you insult our Lord Sovereign? The people around them were even angrier, and many people even pounced on the two. A bunch of ants, how dare you attack us? The two's eyes turned cold, and their auras erupted. Their cultivation had reached the great perfection imperishable realm, and they were many times stronger than the people of Qianshan city. Immediately, they fell to the ground in a complete mess. How dare you? Pei Hongyu was furious, and her pressure rolled out. The two immediately spat out a mouthful of blood and were sent flying. After all, Pei Hongyu was a great perfection sovereign, how could these two be compared to her? Pei Hongyu, how dare you hurt us? Just you wait, when the great ancestor comes, Qin Feiyang won't be able to save you. The two immediately roared with resentment. Good. I'd like to see if Yun Zhongtian dares to come and kill me. Pei Hongyu sneered, and stepped forward to break the two's legs. She forced them to the ground and shouted, apologize to me, not just this little girl, but all the people here. Don't even think about it. You stinking woman, you're dead, I guarantee it. The two of them roared hysterically. How uncultured. Pei Hongyu's eyes flashed coldly, and she raised her hand to slap the two's faces. You're tuning into the Xiaofan's Wuxia Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.